The broadcast is live. Okay. All right. It's an honor to be here on Sports Vibes TV with you guys. What a
Hey, what's
tremendous
going on,
day.
George?
It's happening, Quis.
So yeah, we're here live on Sports Vibes TV. You see me here. I'm joined by JD from JDSportsTalk and also George from Into The Knicksverse. Guys, how are you guys doing? Great win by the. Well, I won't say great win, but it was a good win because we clinched the fourth. But how you guys feeling right now?
You go first, JD.
How I'm feeling? This how I'm feeling.
That's right, baby. This is how I'm feeling too. Clink.
We are, I'm
sorry,
celebrating.
Water.
Oh, Keys, come on.
He's
man.
the healthy one.
No, I mean, listen, I'm having some Pinot Noir wine, just celebrating this culture shifting season for the New York Knicks. I think first we obviously should celebrate what just was accomplished by the team. It was a very, very successful season, very surprising season. Many of us, I mean, I don't know where you guys had it. I had the team winning 20 something games, right before the season started. Yeah, I thought it was going to be an adjustment season. A lot of people were talking about draft prospects and who we may be able to be in position to get, with the draft picks that we had going into the season. But none of that happened. And the team, so many things happened this season. And I'm sure we'll talk about it tonight. And I'm excited to talk about, some of these players and who took a step up and who we are excited about in the future.
Yeah, man. It's a totally surprising results. But here, I gotta say, it's just to cap it off, man. Even though today's game, the way they won was trash, but I don't care. A win is a win. We needed it, and they took care of business. And good teams can win ugly, and that's what today proved. And and this is a good team. This is a good team, and we're gonna face another good team because the Hawks are good too, fellas. They're really good. And I'm hyped. I'm super hyped because I predicted 41 victories. And people were, of course, great fans were like, yeah, let's do it. Let's go for it. But then I got flamed by a lot of people. I'm delusional, they told me. Where are you now?
Yeah.
Our boys finished 41-31. Fourth seed. We actually earned home field advantage. We were thinking maybe we get like the 10th and then we could do the play-in. Remember that? We thought we'd be thankful for that. Instead, we rode this thing all the way. Those guys performed.
Yeah, I definitely thought we were going to be playing for that playing tournament, me personally. But to see what Tibbs has been able to get out of this team, because I'm not going to sit here and lie like this is one of the most talented teams I've ever seen. This is a hardworking team that got here based off of effort, chemistry, and working together. And I think when you look at what Julius Randle has done, I know JD's probably going to smirk over there right now with me mentioning Randle, but with what Randle has done this
what has he done? What has he done, Keith?
Let him keep going.
Can you enlighten us?
What has he done?
Okay.
He's been an all-star, and he's also worthy of a contract extension this offseason. But before we get into that, we got to give him his kudos for what he's done. He's been arguably the best power forward in the league this season. And I think the Knicks are finally getting some of the respect that they deserve. And I think Julius Randle is definitely getting the respect he deserves from me, honestly.
There were so many reasons why the team ended up performing the way they did, but obviously if you got to give a percentage, he probably gets like a good 40%. Just to throw a number out there. It's like something significant, but then everything cascades, things. Some of the reasons why he might have been that effective is because he had other guys pulling some of the weight as well. And then Thibs creating the culture, and then that staff, man, Johnny Bryant, Kenny Payne. I forgot some of the other dudes' names, but some of the film guys, there's a great staff. And then of course the front office, they really did not make a bad move.
Yeah, Randall's also actually passing the ball now. That's the biggest thing, I think. The biggest change to his game is the fact that he's accepting that his teammates are there to help him out, and he doesn't have to do everything by himself.
Yeah, I mean the impressive thing is how everything has come full circle, as George mentioned. You know, I think his transformation had a lot to do with not only himself but the supporting system around him, the coaching staff, the specific connections of some of these coaches with Kenny Payne, and Kenny Payne's reputation in Kentucky as a player development guy and a guy that, you know, players love to play for. To Tom Thibodeau being, you know, when he was on the JJ Redick podcast, he attributed to, you know, Thibodeau being a guy that was very, you know, tough on him and held him accountable. So I think, you know, from the assistant coaches to the head coach to him and his trainer, it all came full circle. And, you know, not many of us saw him. I don't know that we're surprised by the stats that he produced this season, but I think what he was able to accomplish is his stats had impact. Because if you really look at it, last year he had similar numbers. They just weren't impactful. You know, we see a lot of times around the NBA where players put up, you know, good numbers. They look good on a box score. They look good on a screen, but they don't necessarily have much impact. If you want to use an example of a controversial player, you can just go to Andre Drummond, a stat beast. But how much of those stats have, you know, impacted into results on the floor? So that part of it is the most impressive part to me, is that he was able to find ways to make players better and have impact on the floor to the end result of, you know, games for the New York Knicks.
Yeah. But there's one thing that I haven't really touched on, and that's kind of a part of all this, is that last season, when I was kind of analyzing, you know, what kind of a team we were going to have, I actually thought we were going to get like 35 to 37 wins. So last year's squad, in my opinion, severely underperformed. And, you know, Julius, a lot of that is on Julius, because you were saying he had a lot of the empty stats, but he wasn't spraying the ball the way he is now. He had no three-point. I mean, his three-point range was shit last season. So but I feel like that squad, I mean, it had Mook on it, and it's a lot of the similar players. It just didn't have the right coach in the beginning of the season, no real philosophy, no commitment to winning and improving, and there was no chemistry. Remember that when you watch them, you're like, what the hell are they doing? What's the offensive strategy here? You know, it didn't feel like they were trying to achieve any goal offensively. So I think that squad could have actually not necessarily been this effective, but they could have maybe gotten 30 wins last year, maybe 32 wins or something. So when you look at it that way, and I think that was probably maybe Thibs and Leon and all those guys probably thought the same exact thing. And they're like, shit, we can just go to New York and get these guys to play the right way. And who knows what can happen.
Yeah. By the way, I just want to say, chat, Quis and I, and this is not so we could talk about it, Quis. You know, don't worry about it. Don't worry about it. You're fine. But Quis and I had like a 3-hour. I mean, was it 3 hours, Quis? 2 to 5 a.m. last night. We were arguing about about Randall's contract situation. And Quis had an excellent
going for
video.
It already.
No, I'm just saying he had an excellent video on his channel, describing, you know, the numbers that he can get. But, you know, I'm sure you guys will have something to say about that as well, in terms of, you know, is Randle worth a max contract? Is he going to get the max contract? And what you guys would do as fans? Would you sign him long term? Would you wait? So that's something that, you know, is going to be much talked about in the offseason and speculated. But, you know, Quis and I, we challenge ourselves off camera a lot.
Yeah, what you guys should do when we end this stream, go check out that video on my channel breaking down Julius Randle's contract, and you let me know what the best situation would be for the Knicks. We won't taint your view on the issue by letting you guys know what we think. Just check it out and let us know your decision down there in the comments, and we'll see what the hearts of the fans think. All right, let's see. Fritz, Thank you. We definitely did cross 3K. I want to thank you guys for helping me get there. Also, JD Into The Knicksverse, I want to help you guys as well for getting me there because you guys produce high quality content and it helps motivate me to become a better content creator. So thank you guys.
Awesome, man.
All right, let's move on to RJ now, though. RJ is another player that we have to look at that has really
Woo!
blossomed this season under Tibbs. I mean, he's gotten his shooting percentage through the roof. He was shooting, 40% from three now? Up from, 32 or 36% last year?
Yeah. Yep. He's been a revelation, man. He's also similar. I mean, when you look at it, it's almost, not as drastic as what Julius has done.
Mhm.
But he leveled up. He leveled up. I mean, he's now one of the top 3-point shooters in the league. Who would have thought that? Wait, this guy was left off the all rookie team. He wasn't even worthy of getting on that stupid top 25 under 25 list. That was ridiculous. So he's really made it. And I think that's also one of the reasons why Julius has been able to grow, because RJ and his, he's incredibly talented and he has a high IQ of how to play the game. He's an excellent defender and he's constantly wants to learn and improve. And that makes Julius's life easier. So that's that symbiotic nature that they have, relationship that they have. It helps them grow in a positive way.
I mean, listen, RJ, I'm so impressed with his development this season because of a few reasons. Number one, from 19 years old to 20, right? He's still not legal enough to have some of this that I'm having.
He can't have this. Yeah, right. He can't have this.
he still can't go to a bar and buy, some of the drinks that we're having. And when you look at what was scouted as his weakness, which was shooting, right? I mean, he shot 32% from three last season, and he shot 40% from the field. When you are a shooting guard or forward in the league, those type of efficiency numbers, it can't be sustainable in terms of, being a starting caliber player in the NBA, let alone for a number 3 overall pick in the NBA draft. And so when you go from 32% from three to 40%, he finished the season now at 40% flat from the three. He jumped from 61% at the free throw line to 74%. And then he jumps from 40% to 44% from the field. That department, the efficiency department, is what was very impressive. He's now only a 20-year-old shooting, 40% from three. And, I think the sky's the limit for him. And as a 20-year-old, I think it's okay to say he's a good 3-point shooter. I don't think this is a mirage. You saw him work hard. He has the DNA. He has the characteristics to continue to get better. So, I mean, I don't know if any of us on this panel expected him to shoot this well in one off season. And mind you, this is a COVID off season. RJ Barrett hasn't really had a full training camp. When you're a rookie and you're starting the first season, a lot of things is going on with the combine, the draft. You're going right into summer league. Now he's going into a COVID season, 9 months off, a lot of restrictions. Next year will be his first full actual off season where he can relax and work on his game and start a schedule on time. So I can't wait to see how he continues to develop. This playoff experience is going to be immense for his development. And, I'm excited I can't wait for next week to see how this unfolds.
Ooh. Yeah, man.
RJ's been solid. George, you wanted to say something?
He's been solid, but the thing is, too, the 40%. It's not like he's only putting up two a game. It's between 4 and 5 3-pointers a game he's averaging. That's a decent volume. So this is real. 71 games total, 72 games now, and he's performed. I mean, he's the real deal in terms of the long ball. He needs to, though, as Stephen Fox said in the chat, that he needs to work on that handle and finish. He needs to finish better. That's one thing that's kind of like suffered a bit, especially recently.
Yeah, I think that'll be the next step in his. If it's step by step, usually that's how it is with NBA players, right? Every season you kind of improve a certain facet of your game. It looks like this season it was the free throw shooting and the overall shooting. Hopefully next season will be, you know, either developing a go-to move once you get into the middle of the paint, whether it is a more refined Euro step so that he can get a cleaner look at the basket, right? Or whether it's getting stronger or just being more explosive going up to the basket, being a little bit more aggressive. You know, to what Stephen Fox said, he missed a lot of bunnies against the Lakers. You know, that was a very frustrating game for him. And you saw some of those things that he still needs to work on in that game where he missed a lot of easy shots that could have got him going into a decent game. So
yeah, I think next season will definitely.
Yeah, I think part of he was logging a lot of minutes previous to the past 7 games. Like he was averaging 40.7 minutes a game for about 16 games, and that was included that the win streak. So it was a really intense period. And I think it did take a little bit out of his lift, which is why we saw him not finishing at the rim efficiently. But it didn't affect his 3-point shooting. So that's because sometimes it affects that. But you saw when the mid-range shots and everything, they were hitting the front of the rim. You know, and then when he would get to the rim, he'd just kind of like throw it up, hoping to get the foul. You know, a little bit Elfrid Payton-ish. Maybe Elfrid taught him some moves.
Elfrid Payton-ish. Oh boy. What do you think about his future, Quis? And what do you think about Barrett overall?
Say that one more time, baby. You came in and out.
What do you think about like overall Barrett and his future?
I think his future is bright. I think we've seen good steps, positive steps in the right direction. And as you guys mentioned, he's going to have to get better finishing around the rim. But what I think we've seen moments where he's been in the paint, posting up smaller guards. And I think that was very effective when we saw him in those roles. So if that's something he can add to his game as well as, you know, getting bigger, he's still like young, like you guys said, he's 20 years old. He's going to fill out into his frame. And I think it was a little, I won't say off-putting. It was weird to see him struggle in the paint and, you know, have so much success from 3. Because coming in, we viewed him as a slasher, and we thought him operating in the paint, you know, finishing around the rim was going to be his strong suit. So to see him kind of switch it up, I think this is something that I'm a lot more comfortable with, because he came into the game and we expected him to excel finishing around the rim. So for him to work on that this offseason and get better, I think that's something that we won't have to really, you know, put too much concern into. And I like that RJ is slowly becoming like a wingman to Julius Randle. I think a lot of the success that you're seeing from Julius Randle is because he's able to trust people like RJ out there on the court, you know, and that's allowing him to move the ball and not let it stick. So if RJ can continue to ascend and continue to be that second option to Julius Randle, then I think the sky is the limit. But here in the playoffs, it's going to be a big test for RJ, because RJ saying he's built for this, now is the time to show it. And it's not going to be a greater moment in this season than the postseason. And the first round that Julius Randle is going to need him to hold it down. Him and Derrick Rose, who's another player we're going to talk about.
I think he's going to have a pretty big series against the Hawks.
I agree,
because he's going to get that week rest, because he's desperate. You know, he's only 20 years old, so you know you give this guy 2 days rest, he's going to be fine, and he's going to be able to work on some moves. And you know the schemes they're going to give him. They're going to be like, look, if you do this little curl move here, we run this play down there. He's going to feast for a while, and then that's going to unlock Julius even more. So I think actually RJ is the key to the how deep we go in this playoffs this season, because Julius is going to do his thing, but you know when they start double teaming, yeah.
Quis, Julius gonna do his thing, Quis?
You hope. I mean, Julius ain't perfect. He's had stinkers now and then.
Oh yeah,
it's gonna be on Derrick Rose, RJ Barrett, IQ, Bullock, Burks to hold him down. We're a team. Julius Randle, of course, is going to have to play well to get us to our maximum potential, but we're not going to win on the back of Julius Randle. So everybody's going to have to chip in, and this is going to be a team effort.
I agree. Definitely, I agree with that.
So I mentioned Derrick Rose. Let's talk about Derrick Rose and his contributions. We traded for him. We traded, who did we trade? DSJ and a second round pick. So pretty much nothing. And we were able to bring Derrick Rose, who has been a major catalyst for this team in the second half of the season. So what are you guys expecting from Derrick Rose? And also, how happy were you that we actually made such a shrewd move to bring him in? We'll start with you, JD.
Well, I was excited from the beginning where we were even thinking about getting him, just because I'm personally a big Derrick Rose fan. I followed him even when he was with the Chicago Bulls. I always rooted for him to beat LeBron James and those Miami Heat teams. And it's funny too, because, you know, he had Noah Gibson, Ronnie Brewer. He had those kind of tough, gritty teams. Those teams actually emulate a little bit of what the Knicks have become with this team, and Thibodeau, you know, ironically coaching this team as well. So I was excited from the get-go. I was excited when we had him the first go round. It didn't turn out how he wanted, or how all of us wanted. But he, to me, is the key to the success of the playoffs. He's the key to everything. When you talk about, you know, how can we make noise in the playoffs? How can we beat the Hawks? How can we do anything? I think Derrick Rose is the key to the success of how far we're going to go. You know, it's actually amazing to see how he's reinvented his game, being that we're talking about a guy that, when you look around history, it's pretty hard for guys to be that explosive. I mean, you saw Dwayne Wade at the end, couldn't really do it. You know, a lot of players in the past that relied on athleticism later on in their career, they have a little bit of trouble, you know, kind of reinventing and changing the game. And he's worked a lot on footwork. He's worked a lot on timing, spots on the floor to be able to get the best shots available for him. And so I'm most impressed about that. I admire that about him. I root for him. He deserves it. You know, this is a guy that was thought to be, you know, the next great thing. And unfortunately, injuries derailed that. And so, you know, he's played great on the road. And I've mentioned that a lot of times on my channel. And I've done a few videos, you know, talking about how he has played much better on the road, shooting the basketball, and how if we're going to make any noise in the playoffs, we're going to need that type of play on the road, because you have to win road games. Even in this series where we have, you know, potentially 4 games in New York, we're going to have to win at least one road game in Atlanta. And I think it's going to take more than that personally to win the series. But we're going to need his play like that on the road. So, you know, let's see what happens. But I think he's the key, and he's had an outstanding season with the Knicks. And it's going to be interesting to see, you know, how much he's going to request, or he's going to be worth in the offseason.
Facts.
Don't
because,
think about, you know, the off season right now.
I'm just saying, Knick fans, you know, enjoy Reggie. First of all, is it Bullock or Bullock? You know, is it?
Yeah, I know a lot of say Bullock.
I think it is Bullock, but I say Bullock.
Yeah, because
I say Reggie Bullock.
I never get him on the channel and ask him personally.
Yeah, let's get him on.
He's social media friendly.
Even announcers, some people say Reggie Bullock, some people say Reggie Bullock. I say Bullock, but
Omar is saying it's Lock.
Okay.
Omar says it's Lock.
Yeah,
Bullock. Yeah, that makes okay.
All right, so Reggie Bullock, Alec Burks, these guys that are going to be free agents, you know, let's enjoy what's happening now, because in the offseason, you know, changes will probably happen. So,
yeah.
George Rose.
Rose. I think Rose is the second most impactful trade of the entire NBA season after the Harden trade. By far. I mean, I can't even come up with a third place one. And we got him for, I don't know, a bag of chips, an open bag of chips, you know, and
basically a lot of air.
Yeah, pretty much. You know, like you were saying, he's reinvented the game. Well, what he's done is he was resisting the oncoming modern NBA the first time around when he was here with us, and he's come out and said it himself. And this time he's embraced it, and he's improved on his 3-point shot. He hit 38.8% of his shots this year. That's phenomenal for what, a 31.1% career 3-point shooter. That's a huge jump. Look how many guys we've had that have had like 7% and up jumps. Julius, who's made one of the second biggest leap after Johnson from what team was he on? I think was he on Phoenix or Atlanta, whenever he was before he got that big contract with the Nets. He made like an 18% jump. and then Julius is the second most in the history of the NBA. And then RJ, tremendous jump, and now look, Derrick Rose. So he's bought into the new style. He's, like you said, accepted the fact that he can't just blow past people every time. But he still has speed. He still has it. Actually, I see it sometimes. So that's a great combination. He should be the starting point guard. I don't even understand why he's not. It's just completely mind-boggling, honestly. And who knows? Maybe we'll, when we get into talking about rotations for the playoffs, we'll get into that part. But I'm ecstatic. I love Derrick Rose, and I think he actually said today in the post game that the ankle has been bothering him. Mm-hmm. Even though he came back and he's playing through it, so he's really looking forward to the time off. And the problem too, the ankle's been bothering him, but he hasn't been able to do anything. So the only action he's been getting recently is in-game action. So I think that's why his shot's been a little tiny bit rusty. Little tiny bit rusty in the past few games.
Yeah, I was against the Derrick Rose trades originally. I'm not going to sit here and lie about that. But to see him and to see what he's done for this team, I'm glad I was wrong. That's one of those where I'm like, if the team is going to make a move and it ends up working out for us in the long run, let me be wrong every single time then. Because
I was nervous too. I wasn't that excited about it because of what happened last time too.
Yeah, but the last thing, I was a little bit nervous. He didn't seem like he really bought in. And I know he has a different coach now in Tom Thibodeau, but I wasn't going to sit here and assume that this was going to be a happy marriage once again. So to see him come in and be that force off the bench, that spark plug when things get stagnant, I think is phenomenal. And to watch Derrick Rose play, it's almost like a curveball almost, because you're seeing him attack the defense in, the mid-range area where you're not seeing that too much on other teams or from other star players. You're seeing them either get to the basket or shoot threes. Derrick Rose is able to have an assortment of moves, whether it be floaters, whether it be, quick little pull-ups in the lane. His game is it just likens back to some of the old superstars that I'm used to seeing, like how Kobe used to attack people in the mid-range. He's not, operating in the post like that, but he's a player that can attack you at different points on the court, and also he's knocking down timely three-pointers. Derrick Rose is a phenomenal three-point shooter, but he's making those timely buckets for us, and we're seeing that a lot in the fourth quarter. And it's been unfortunate that he's dealing with this ankle injury, because I've been noticing in the last few games he hasn't been out there in clutch moments, and it's because he's hampered by that ankle. So hopefully with this week off, he'll be able to recuperate and he'll be able to come back better than ever. But Derrick Rose is going to be a big part of this team. I don't know if we're going to get to the second round if Derrick Rose isn't out there giving us quality minutes, 20, 25, even maybe 30 minutes a game, because it's going to be a dogfight. I mean, we're 3-0 against the Hawks, but this is not going to be an easy series.
No, this is not going to be. I think you're right. He's going to have to play like 30 plus minutes in the playoffs, right? I mean, he's going to have to. He's going to have to be on the floor a lot.
Peyton's minutes are shrinking.
They've been shrinking for the past.
I mean, this is what you got Rose for. I mean, at this point, especially after the way he's played since he became a Knick, you would think, now is the time that, you kind of extend his minutes. I mean, we don't know how far we're going to go, and we might as well. I mean, Tibbs plays these guys more minutes than what maybe they need to be playing anyway. So I think it's very fair and very probably expected for us to be, to expect that Rose is going to play 30 plus minutes now in the playoffs. I don't know that he goes over 35, but he's probably going to be around the 30.
There'll be games where he might play 38. It might happen. Because when Elf comes out, after 5 minutes or whatever, 6 minutes, and then he does his 3-minute appearance in the after the half. He's almost like an MC. He comes. All right, here's your team. Thank you. He just goes.
Yeah.
Maybe he's maybe he's like a bizarre good luck charm for Thibs.
Bizarre good luck. Yeah, man. I mean, I know we'll get into that, but it's it's definitely something to watch to see
Okay,
how
wait. So
it's gonna happen.
wait. So JD, your key guy is
Rose.
And Quis. Who do you think is the key player for the playoff run? I mean, other than Julius, of course, we don't do shit without Julius.
Yeah.
So if Julius gives us what he's been giving us, what?
I would say it's going to be RJ.
I'm laughing at the super chat that came in.
I think it's going to be RJ because the other guys are seasoned. Yeah.
Thank you for letting me know, JD.
Talk about adding
Adam
Andrew
O'Brien is
Wiggins.
saying playoff talk is all fine and dandy, but let's talk about adding Andrew Wiggins to the roster. First, I want to say thank you for the super chat. Greatly appreciate you supporting the channel. And secondly, I want to say thank you again for the super chat because I can't think of anything nice to say. I don't want Wiggins on this team.
Keys, you know who that? Do you know who that is?
Nah. Oh, don't tell me that's. Oh yeah. Okay. All right.
He is
his mind.
Till this day, he thinks that Andrew Wiggins is like still could become the number one pick superstar and all that stuff. So he obviously thinks Andrew Wiggins is the answer to the Knicks.
He's a Wiggins stands. I had dinner sitting next to Andrew Wiggins the summer before his first year, after he had been drafted
in Kansas. When he was in Kansas?
No, he was here in LA. It was over by the ArcLight, and we went to this. It was a burger place called Stout, and I sitting down, and I look over, like literally, there's little tiny tables. I was like, that's Andrew Wiggins. What the hell is he doing here? But a lot of guys come to LA in the summer.
He refuses to give up.
Hey, Wiggins, to give some proper respect to Wiggins, he definitely has upped his game. He's become much more efficient than he's been, and defensively, man, he finally is becoming showing something defensively. He's been good for Warriors, and then when the Warriors upset the Lakers,
so let him stay over there.
Yeah, when the Warriors beat the Lakers in that 7-8 match.
George, you want to answer to that message highlighted there? Have you?
Which one? You probably had pen. Actually, yes. Yes, Ant. That is so right. Yeah. God.
That's hilarious. But George, you were asking something before we got into that?
I forgot. I lost the train there. I fell off the caboose.
I think it was something along the lines of you had asked JD who's going to be his key performer for the Knicks.
He said.
Oh yeah, he was going around the panel. So I said Rose.
Yeah,
and
my feeling is that Rose is a professional, Julius professional, all these guys, Burks, Bullock, they're all going to give you basically what they've been giving us. Maybe one is going to be not as perform as well, and one is going to perform a little bit more. But the X factor are actually our three youngest players on the squad. RJ, of course, number one. But what IQ and Obi end up giving us, that's going to be the extra sauce. That this is why I'm kind of hype about this playoffs. I mean, I know the Hawks they're a really solid team, and it's going to be a battle. But if these three guys lock in, and remember, RJ's got that, big games, he steps up big time normally in his history of his life. He carried that Duke team, man. Zion was getting hurt and stuff, and he ended up becoming the lead point guard, taking over because Jones couldn't hit an outside shot, and Jack White couldn't hit anything. And I don't think RJ even took a 3-pointer before his first season in college. I'm kidding, of course. But the Canadian team, he took it. He crushed United States. They ended up winning the gold. He scored, 38 points or something in that game against the U.S. So he's already feasted on all these guys. It's the same guys. So he's got that killer instinct. IQ, you hear him talk. God, man, too bad we didn't have March Madness last year. We were going to win it all. And big reason was because of him, that he felt that. And then we got Obi, College Player of the Year last year. And now he seems to have really found his role, found his confidence, and the other players on the court are understanding where he needs to get the ball, and he's becoming a better rebounder too. That was one of the things that was bothering me about him. Like someone with his height and his vertical leap, he wasn't really rebounding that great in the first part of the season, but lately he has been.
Yeah, he's been doing phenomenal in those 6 minutes.
Yeah, which are important.
Yeah. Why did that sound messed up? Why did it sound messed up?
If Elf gave us what Obi's given us in those 6 minutes, we'd take it.
Baby steps, Keith. Baby steps.
We would take 6 minutes from Alfred, period, because then that would be a reduction from what he's playing right now. So you can't really compare the two. But yeah, based on what you were saying, I would say my key contributor would be RJ Barrett, because like you said, Julius Randle and Derrick Rose, even though Randle hasn't been in the playoffs before, he's been that out for this entire season. So I'm expecting we're going to see consistent play from him. And Derrick Rose has been a player that has carried his team and has been a former MVP. So you're going to expect him to be a consummate professional and show up every game. RJ Barrett is going to be a young player, and he's going to be a player that they're going to game plan against. You know, yes, they're going to try to shut down Julius Randle, but they're also not going to try to let RJ go off. So RJ is going to have to show up for us out there against the Hawks, and he's going to be going against, like you said, players that he's been going against on the other AAU circuits and things like that, whether it be DeAndre Hunter or even, has he played against Werder in AAU?
Yeah,
most likely,
so.
I would think.
Yeah, most likely.
So those are going to be a couple of his matches that he's going to have to go up against. So I think he's going to be fully committed to beating the brakes off them, for lack of a better term. So I'm fully expecting RJ Barrett to be he's going to be the Robin. I don't want to. It usually has a bad stigma to it, but he's going to be the Robin to Julius Randle out here.
Yeah.
Well, I mean, that's the main question. Moving forward, that's one of the big questions. Is
more thumbs up, guys. Thumbs up, please.
RJ be a secondary, or is he? So that's the next evolution of this roster is, can RJ be the number 2, or will he be the number 3 as we look to improve the roster and get that 1A player next to Randle? So we'll see, I think that's going to be the next, like I said, evolution of this roster in the offseason.
I mean, in a perfect world, somebody will come and bump RJ down the line. In a perfect world. And then as RJ gets older, he can then start supplanting whoever we bring in.
Exactly. I had to listen to the ESPN broadcast, and it was our man Jeff Van Gundy was on it, and they were asking. The dude asked him about what he thought about RJ, and he said, "You know what? He's made such a huge leap. If he can make that next leap for next season that he made the past season, he'll be knocking on the door of being an all-star." So the rest of the NBA is noticing. Except for
they see
the people who make those stupid lists.
Yeah. But I mean, you see that from that moment what he had with Jimmy Butler, where even Jimmy Butler was giving him game.
Yeah. It's we're in a good place, man. It's gonna be fun. This is gonna be a great
bunch of team-friendly contracts.
Yes. We're not stuck with any like albatrosses. We're in a great place.
I mean,
we got draft picks. We got 2 number 1 draft picks. I know they're going to be probably in the 20s, like the high 20s, probably 20 and 21st.
We may not even draft those picks. It's yet to be seen if we're even going to have
value. But they have value. We'll be able to do something with them.
May not even trade out. May trade them out for some type of player that becomes disgruntled. I mean, these playoffs as well is going to answer some questions for some players, right? Like Bradley Beal, the playoffs with the Wizards, like what is Zach LaVine thinking right now as they gave up, multiple draft picks for Nikola Vucevic. And I mean, I thought it was an overrated trade when it happened, and you see the result of that. They're not even in the play-in. So what is LaVine thinking right now as he's wherever he's at this very moment? So I think, the playoffs as well, even with Portland Trailblazers, what's highly unlikely to me that Dame Lillard will be traded this offseason. That's something maybe for next year. But what is he going to be thinking if Portland doesn't, succeed in the playoffs? So I think these playoffs for certain superstars are going to answer a lot of questions in terms of their personal feelings. And we'll see in the offseason if it happens every year. Every year, some type of all-star superstar requests a trade quietly, or disgruntled in a disgruntled fashion in the NBA. It happens every year, and I don't think that this offseason is gonna all of a sudden not happen. It's gonna happen with someone. Who's that someone will be, and will the Knicks be interested in that someone? We'll see. But there's going to be opportunity.
Yeah, Fritz's comment there in the chat. It's interesting. That's very possible.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying. That's what I'm saying. Because that's the thing. Yeah, we have multiple picks. Okay, that sounds great. But you saw the minutes that Quickly and Obi got this year. So the first thing is going to be, in my opinion, I think Tibbs is going to push the front office to keep as many of these veterans, right, as the Knicks possibly financially can. And so when that happens, then I mean, those players are going to be already up first in the rotation next season under Tibbs's regime. So we have now how many picks? 3-4 picks this in this draft. Like, these guys are not playing. They're not going to play next season. You know, I mean, we kind of got lucky with Quickly getting that type of value at 25. I mean, who's to say we're going to double up that in this upcoming draft? Yeah. You know, so I think Fritz is onto something where the Knicks may be looking to find creative scenarios to where maybe you package those with another young player or two. And like you said, Quis, maybe either trade up for one player or get someone else.
Yes, man. That's what I'm saying. We're looking good. We're looking good in terms of that.
We got flexibility. We got a bunch of options this offseason, and that's where you want to be.
And we got smart people controlling the moves.
Yeah. But before we get ahead of ourselves, let's look more so focused on the Atlanta Hawks. What are some players you think that we are going to have to neutralize? I know Trae Young is definitely going to be the first person that's going to come to mind, but are there other players that the Knicks are going to have to key in on if we're going to emerge victorious from this playoff round?
Playoff run. Let's get to it, George.
Can you imagine?
Let's get to it.
I know it sounded like, whoa.
We're finally.
I just realized we're 40 minutes in and we just get into the Hawks.
I mean, listen.
Drink for this.
Listen, the Knicks deserve. Listen, like as I told you before the stream, you said 40 minutes in. The Knicks deserve more than 40 minutes because this was an amazing season. You know, we have to celebrate what has transpired. And now we're going to get into the playoffs, but I think it's important for everyone to first, the Hawks are important, the playoffs are important, but let's all reflect and not forget what this season has been. To me, it's been a culture shifting season. You've seen the type of praise we've gotten now, mainstream media, people want to jump on the bandwagon. And a lot of players have developed. We got a lot of positive data and results this season for next year. And so the future's bright. So the Knicks deserve that and more. But on to the Hawks. I mean, what do you think, George? Who is someone you think we should key on other than the obvious Trae Young?
Well, actually, Fritz mentioned one right there in the chat, Bogdanovich, of course. But I think the wild card there, the one that's really could hurt us, is Hunter. I think he's got kind of almost a 3-level scoring game, almost. Definitely can hit it from the outside. He can drive. His handles, but he's got good size. He's got good speed, and he has that solid demeanor. He's a little dangerous. He's actually hurt us in the past too. He didn't play in that last game with us, right? Did he play? I think he's been injured. He was injured, but
yeah, I'm not hurt. He's been out. He's just coming back.
He's just coming back. I think he's someone that I'm worried about. But there's a lot. You just said Herter. Yeah, I mean, they got some snipers. Atlanta's got some snipers.
For me, other than Trae Young, and you said Herter.
Yeah, I said he's just another.
No, he said DeAndre Hunter.
I think DeAndre Hunter is the one who could really make the difference in the series if he steps up.
Yeah, I mean, if I had to pick someone else, I'm gonna pick the guy that just had, 25 points, 22 rebounds, and 9 offensive rebound against us, and that's Clint Capella. He last game, that's the numbers that he had. 9 offensive rebounds, 22 rebounds, 25 points. Now, I don't expect him to get anywhere near 25 points because that's not really his type of game, scoring that much on the offensive end. But when you consider the fact that we don't have Mitchell Robinson, when you consider the fact that Noel is going to be a very, in my opinion, important piece to this series, because he is going to be a key anchor and piece to helping to contain Trae Young, right? Because Trae Young likes to come off a pick and kind of hang on the defender and then drive to the basket, shoot those teardrops, get the fouls, and go to the line. So Noel's ability to play the pick and roll, which has been sort of weak on his end recently, that's going to be a big key. So on the other side, I think Clint Capella being able to control the rebounding department, right? Because we like to slow it down. The only way we're going to control pace is by rebounding missed shots. And so if Capella causes havoc in the paint, mind you as well, this is not a series where it's in the season where you just go with, Norrell Pell, or you start to mess around with players if it's not working. No, Tibbs is going to potentially shorten the rotation, and it's going to be on Gibson. It's going to be on Noel to control the paint. And if they can't do it, I don't think Tibbs is going to go to Obi or someone else. It's going to be them. So because that's the options we have without Mitch, to me, if I had to pick someone else, I'm going to say the rebounding, and I'm going to say Clint Capella. We have to box him out. We have to make it manageable so that we can, we're able to control the pace.
Totally. The only thing that makes me not worry too much about him is that he's a 57% free throw shooter. So he's not going to be there in the fourth quarter, and these games are going to be tight. So he's not going to be a factor. He's not even going to be on the floor when the game's on the line. If it's close, if he does his damage and Trae goes off and the lead is 20 going into the fourth or in the last 8 minutes of the fourth, then he probably will stay on the court and then to solidify that win. But with the Knicks D, I don't know. I think we're going to keep. I think we'll be able to. He's going to end up neutralizing himself because he's not a good free throw shooter. And surprisingly, this is his worst field goal percentage year since 2015-16. So his efficiency has dropped, which normally is an indicator that he's losing a little something athletically. A little bit of. So I mean, he is definitely dangerous for sure. But the guy that we haven't talked about, well, maybe Quis. Who's your guy? Because maybe you'll say
with Collins.
There you go. That's
I'm worried about Collins. Not only the fact that Collins can hit the outside shot, and also he can kill you down low. The fact that Julius Randle is probably going to be guarding him, and we don't want Julius Randle to get into foul trouble. And we already know the refs are not on our side. So if God forbid they decide to play call the game tight, I'm gonna be nervous because who knows what they'll do to throw it off the chemistry or the flow of the game. So John Collins is definitely somebody that we're gonna have to make sure it doesn't go off. Fritz said it as well. Bogdan, he's able to orchestrate that offense when Trae's not in there. So we have a lot of weapons that we have to focus on and try to stop from dominating the game, but. We skipped over Trae because it was the obvious answer, but we already know that's going to be the engine of this team. And we have to make sure he doesn't hit us with that little herky jerk foul nonsense as well. I'm nervous about the refs. I probably should have said that's who we need to neutralize, really, because if they decide to go off on us, it's going to be a problem. There's too many variables. You got John Collins that can draw fouls on Julius Randle, Trae Young, Capella, but you said he's a terrible free throw shooter. It's just it could get nasty out there if the refs
Hunter
game right.
You make
into foul trouble.
Make a great point, Keys, because guess what? The Atlanta Hawks are second in the NBA in free throw attempts. And so they shoot 81% when they get there. Mm-hmm. So the Knicks, I think, were top. They definitely were definitely within the top 7 or 8 in the NBA in free throw attempts in fouls per game. So the Knicks were up, among the league leaders in fouling.
Yeah. And
then now you're playing a team that's among the league leaders in getting to the free throw line. And then you include the refs in the middle of all that equation. Mm-hmm. And you're going to see a lot of weird stuff happening, bad calls and questionable calls. And discipline is going to be key for us because of those, variables between the two teams. We're definitely going to have to, be disciplined in the game plan because, these guys can shoot all these guys can shoot well from the free throw line. And, these games are, I think, maybe high scoring. I mean, they were high scoring all in the season. And I mean, it depends on the lineups because George made a good point as well. You see, I think the Hawks, if the Hawks are looking at how we can beat the Knicks, I think Capella being on the floor is a way to. He played 36 minutes, 41 minutes, and 31 minutes in the 3 games they've played the Knicks this season. And he's played well in all of them, double-digit rebounds, right? And when you look at how to neutralize the Knicks, Randle sometimes does have a little bit of trouble around the basket with size, right? And so controlling the paint against the Knicks is key. But then again, with Collins playing at center, bringing Gallinari in with Herter and Trae Young, like going small can also be beneficial to them because they can spread the floor. That's why I don't think this matchup is as easy as some people, are painting it to be. I know we wanted them because of the playoff experience. They're a young team and we beat them in the season, but this is going to be a dogfight, man. This is going to be a long series, in my opinion.
It is.
And we beat him 3 times, but that last win, Trae Young had to go down for us to really mount that comeback. So yeah, we could very easily be 2-1.
And those games were, a lot of those games were good games, even dating back to last season. If you want to go that far too.
Our net rating is 2.4, and we're 10th in the league. And the Hawks is 2.2, and they're 11th. They're right behind us. But they do it by, just they're a much better shooting team in general. Our defense, though, is better. So it's going to be a battle. It's going to be a battle of whether the defense wins out. And in the playoffs, usually the defenses do carry the day. Yeah. So I'm hoping, we just got to contain Trae, obviously, because if he's going off and is hitting, he's scoring 35 a night, it's going to be a nightmare because then we're going to double him. He's a great passer.
How are we going to do that, George? How can we try? Because you got to give superstars respect. How can we try to contain him? Is it a certain player we're going to put on him? Is it a certain scheme? Is it a certain way? Is it being physical?
Yeah, we did it. We've done it before. It just you don't contain him all 4 quarters. That's the thing about Trae. But if you can contain him for 2 out of the 4 or 3 out of the 4, you got a great chance. And he still may get 28, but he's not hitting 38. And still and 14 assists. It's really his passing that ends up killing us because then all the other guys get easier shots. So containing him is, it's going to be a team effort. We might see Frank. Frank actually might get some burn. I know that that's what Twitter's been waking up and hoping that Frank's going to get some time. He might get a chance. Thibs. Last night after the post game, he said Frank's special skill is defense, and he doesn't throw praise around like that. So he views him as a defensive specialist. So
he was saying Peyton is a defensive specialist.
Peyton is that's what. Hey, Peyton's got good size, and he's got 6 fouls that he can, he can contribute to the team.
You usually say that about big men. Yeah, he's got 6 fouls on him. Go use them. You don't say that about the starting point guard.
Hey, the NBA has changed.
Trae Young's last 6 games against the Knicks in points: 20 points, 23 points, 31 points, 42 points, 48 points, 42 points. Last 6 games against the Knicks.
42 points. He didn't score 42 last game. Oh, you mean
no? Last 6 games ago. So I'm going. Yeah. I'm going even back to 2020.
Yeah, you can't go back because that's a different team.
But it's still but it's still a career. You know what I mean? Like these players, I think there is something to we saw with like we see it around the NBA. Like sometimes these players, I don't know if it's the uniform, if it's Madison Square Garden. That happens a lot with players. We all know this, right? Players want to come to the Garden, and sometimes you play a certain team. And I don't know if your confidence goes up, but you just happen to play well against them. And so, I mean, this season though, he wasn't what he was last season.
Yeah,
but still, you know,
Thibs has a good scheme against him. It's not like we're holding him scoreless, but it's not like you were saying, not 42 points.
I think the points don't matter, in my opinion, because I think what it will matter will be the percentages. Like, for example, this season, last game, 20 points. However, he was 6 of 17, shooting 35%. The game before that, 23 points. However, he was 6 of 19, shooting 31%. And the game before that, 31 points, right? Oh my God, 31 points. But he had to shoot 22 shots and only made 9 of those 22 shots to get the 31 points. So I think if
how
the
many
Knicks
free throws did he have there? Because that's
well,
he scorched.
Yeah, on that game he had 15. He made 12 of those 15 free throws. So I think, being disciplined with him in terms of fouling him, but making it tough on him. If we do that, we'll be fine on Trae Young. He's gonna have one of those games. I mean, you have a talented offensive player like that. He's gonna get hot. He's gonna have one of those games where nothing is gonna work out. Mm-hmm. But this is a series, and Tom Thibodeau, to me, is another key to this series because his ability to, now he's looking at game film and film on just one opponent for a duration of a series. I think that's going to be advantage Knicks versus the Hawks.
The high pick and roll D is going to be the key. When Noel and Taj, lunge out, they jump out at the curler. And that's how we've been able to neutralize that a little bit, but they can't foul. That's the thing. They can't foul. And Trey's great at drawing that foul. So that's going to be one of the key parts of the series.
Yeah, Wusumar 10 has a question for the panel. Would you guys rather give up the 2-point around the paint, Capella, or the 3-ball Trey?
The 2. I would give up the 2.
Wait, he's asking, would we rather give up
that 2-point,
basically 2-point, like a whole bunch of 2-pointers from Capella, or would we rather take away the 3 from Trae Young?
No, give up. No, it's either you allow the 2 points.
Oh, what are we allowing? Are we allowing the 2 points in the paint, or are we allowing the 3-ball from Trae? Because he puts Trae in parentheses.
Mm-hmm.
I would allow the 2. I would allow the 2.
I mean, this season Trae has gone 1 for 4, 1 for 4, and 1 for 6 against the Knicks from 3. He has not shot well at all.
Yeah, his shooting percentage hasn't been great this season.
Yeah.
Well, I think that's a tougher question than what it looks like.
Mm-hmm.
Because the thing in the NBA, if when you struggle in the paint, everything else opens up. And if you're telling me, okay, Steve Kerr used to do that, and Popovich are known for, used to do that a lot when they played against LeBron James, where they would try to make LeBron James think like a scorer because they would live with him going off instead of his teammates going off.
And not getting anybody involved.
And not getting everybody involved. Mm-hmm. So do we just say, you know what, Trae, if you're going to go off for 30 points per game, power to you, but we're not going to allow you guys to kill us in the paint. We're not going to allow DeAndre Hunter and Gallinari and Kevin Huerter and everybody else to kill us, because then our defense is going to be on its heels, right? Because we're going to be lost in rotations and not know, how to execute the game plan when you have multiple players going. So I think that's a tougher question than, I don't know, man. What do you think, Quis?
I mean, if you're giving up a 2-pointer to Capella, is it an automatic bucket?
No,
because if you're giving up the 2, to me that would mean you're not going to rotate over to Capella. You're going to allow him to operate unevaded. No,
right.
So I would rather force Trae into the 3. To be honest with you, he has a higher percentage of missing the shot. It's going to be an automatic 2. I mean, of course, depending on the situation we're in, it's going to also alter it. But if you're just going to give me a generic situation where it's either Capella with an easy layup or Trae Young shooting a 3-pointer, I'm going to go for the Trae Young 3 and see if he misses. Like you said, he was a 1 for 4, 1 for 4.
We ain't going to give up easy layups with Noel and Taj there. They're going to make
well, it says
Capella's
give up the 2.
hard.
To me, give up the 2 means you're going to have a wide open layup.
Here's why I don't mind giving up the 2. The more the ball is out of Trae's hands, the better for the Knicks because Capella, he's not going to spray the ball like the way Julius does or the way Jokic does, you know? So when he gets resistance in the paint, you think he's going to look for a teammate. And the thing is, we're not going to necessarily have to double him. So there's not going to be an open guy. There's not going to be an open guy for him to find for an open three.
The only thing is, George, though, that the ball, it won't be out of, like, I think the Hawks are going to do everything they can to make sure that, you know, Trae Young gets all the looks and usage that he can. So, you know, that's what makes it tough.
Yeah.
You know, he's their best player. They're gonna die with him.
Yeah, the Big Task just said, but if Trae goes off, that will give the team a boost of confidence. Yes, absolutely, and that's what we got to keep. But you guys, you know, like you said, he shot 1 for 6, 1 for 5. So whatever we've been doing, we have to keep doing because that's the trick is just containing him. Because when he goes off, man, you know, it's like when IQ hits three pointers in a row, it lifts the whole team up. And it terrorizes, it puts the fear of you know, failure in the defense is Mike. They're like, my God, what do we now we got to deal with this guy?
So, and here's the thing,
if he's out there breaking though, it'll demoralize the team as well.
That's true.
And here's the thing too. The data, the actual numbers favor that Tibbs would rather control the paint for 2 reasons. Number one, obviously, you know, I mentioned to you, he went 1 for 4, 1 for 4, and 1 for 6. Right. So he's made 3 out of 14 3-point attempts against the Knicks. And again, specifically the Knicks defense. So when you look at that, and Capella's over here getting 20 plus rebounds and 9 offensive rebounds against us and getting 25 points. I mean, Capella getting 25 points against that tells me that game he controlled the paint. So and then in addition, the second thing is,
but did they win?
The Knicks defensive scheme. The Knicks defensive scheme. How many times, Quis, have we talked about the Knicks giving up open threes? That's been their motto this year. You know, like Tibbs has committed
to the right players. They're not going to give up open threes to Trae or Bogdanovich. That'll be the end of us. And who else they have? Who do that? Actually, Hunter's a good 3-point shooter.
Everybody's a good 3-point shooter.
Yeah,
at this point.
Yeah, at this point. Oh, Gallo. We haven't even talked about Gallo. They have Gallo. They have Lou Williams. They have Lou Will.
And if you look at history, if you look at history, usually when you talk about recipes to winning to staying in the game, it's usually when you're able to control the paint and get second chance opportunities. In other words, you can have somebody, you know, go off or whatever and still lose. Like we see it every night. How many times we see with Russell Westbrook where he has these ridiculous numbers, but the team is not winning, right? And
because he doesn't shoot the 3. Yeah, the modern NBA. Look, you know my whole feeling about how the Knicks can win. You know, and I think we can beat any team in the NBA if we do it. Which is just shoot more threes. Do not stop, but good threes. Work hard to get the open threes. Now, that requires driving to the paint so that, you know, it forces defenses to respect that. But the whole scheme, and it is actually the offensive scheme right now, we just don't take enough of them. I don't know, how many did we take today, though? I think we ended up taking a good amount. But that's the key, because we actually have superior 3-point shooters. We do that. We're gonna win. We're gonna win.
You've nailed that.
It might go 6 or 7 because it's gonna be a battle.
You've nailed that point all year, George.
Yeah.
Every time, and it's funny because the Knicks are a great, you know, 3-point shooter team in terms of percentage, which is crazy to even think of because you look at the roster, you're like, how?
Yes.
But when you look around, yes, it's been you know, it's been one of those things that, you know, to your point is when the Knicks shoot a lot of threes, they win.
They do. They exactly.
George, somebody's asking how they can get one of your hats.
Yes, you guys. You just email me and we'll work it out. Email me at Knicksverse. Yeah, I'll put it in the chat.
Also, there's a link in the description for both JD's channel and George's channel. So if you guys want to go check out the channels and subscribe.
Shout out Delano
in the description.
What's up, brother?
Also, shout out to Adam with the super
I'm
chat.
with King Ja. I don't want to give up anything. I want to make them work for every single bucket. And Tom Thibodeau is going to develop that's it. We've been playing at a playoff pitch for like about 2 months now. Probably the whole season in reality. So we are in great shape in terms of our physicality in the team. We've got some nicks and bruises, but the month off is, the week off, can you imagine? The week off is going to help. Oh yeah, we're up to 120. Nice. Salute to the chat. Thanks you guys for joining us on this. We're having a blast. This is more of like a celebration, really, man. Of just an incredible season. We are the biggest feel-good story in all of sports in the entire world right now. Take that, drink that in, guys. After all the suffering and the bullshit that we had to endure, not necessarily just from the the losing of the team, but the humiliation that the media and all the other teams like to throw upon us, the shaming, the hashtag Knicks LOL and all that garbage. And now with a field goal story of all of sports.
Yeah, awesome. and I just want to say, man, I love you guys. You guys are awesome, man. You guys are the ones that push me for me to start a channel. Otherwise, I would have just been, just I guess working with Quis and George and collaborating with you guys. And I think you guys are great. Quis, I think you're one of the brightest, Knicks and overall sports minds that's out. You know your stuff. George as well. George is one of the funniest guys as well. I enjoy working with you guys. So, I'm just glad that we've been able to share this night tonight, share with everyone in the chat and Knicks fans. This is great times, and let's keep it going. Make sure you hit them likes for Sports Vibes TV. Support the stream. Subscribe to his channel, and stay tuned, man. It's gonna be a crazy week, and we're gonna be here for it.
Yeah.
I gotta hold Adam down. Don't get his super chat. I gotta shout him out.
Yeah, shout him out.
Shout out
I'll
to
be
Adam.
right back, guys. I'll be right back.
Appreciate the super chat. Do what you gotta do, bro. He says, "I feel Nets versus Knicks is destiny." Go ahead.
No, go ahead. Read the super. I was gonna say, Joe's probably going to the bathroom. All that drinking he's doing.
So Adam is saying, "I feel Nets versus Knicks is destiny. My concern is Atlanta might push this to 7 games. Tibbs also overplays his stars. Can we afford a 6-7 game series?" Honestly, I just want to. I don't care if it takes 6 games or 7 games. I don't really have the utmost confidence that we're going to beat the Philadelphia 76ers. So at least we can hang the fact that we're getting through this first round. That's all I'm worried about. If it takes 6, if it takes 7, I'm cool with it. We just need to continue to move forward and show that the Knicks are a legitimate contender out here. And beating the Hawks is going to be the first step. If we fail in the second round, that's something I'm fine with. Like I said in the beginning of the stream, coming into the season, I was cool with 32, 33 wins. So even us getting to the second round is a major accomplishment. So I'm not too concerned about 6-7 game series because I don't have the utmost confidence that we're going to exit the second round. So I'm just
Nets
living in the
want that
moment.
smoke. We're going to give the Nets that smoke.
Yeah.
But first of all, I don't even think,
too, right?
Do we
have to
even
go
play
to the
the
Eastern
Nets?
Conference Finals? We gotta go to the finals, the ECF.
We will have to get through the Sixers, right?
Yeah. At this point, is that 100%? Yes. Actually,
I think the Nets were locked in at the 2.
Oh, Mari, that's facts. That's what I'm telling you, man. That's what I'm telling you. Y'all sleeping. Quis is that guy. Quis is that guy, man. He said the amount of detail in Quis's Mitch injury video was ridiculous. Y'all doing amazing work.
Yeah.
Telling you, man.
Appreciate that.
Yeah,
Quis is no joke.
Actually, you know what? To shout out to Quis. Quis is one of the very first shows that I watched, on the YouTube, world about the Knicks. And I was like, man, this guy knows his shit. I dig this. So I kept watching. And I found, Knicks Fan TV kind of at the same time. So these are the 2 shows that I watched. And then I branched out to all the other ones. I mean, every channel does excellent work.
Yeah, it's so many. Yeah, everyone, every channel has their their niche and their greatness, you know. So that's why, you know, Omari mentioned it, the detail in Key, like, you know, I don't have that. So that's a strength of Keys. Keys was able to put that video. And if you guys you know don't know what he's saying, make sure that you check on his channel, you check the Mitch injury. When Mitch was hurt, Keys produced an excellent video where he actually put up x-rays and he showed you the location of his fracture and what it could mean to the future. Like, that was crazy, man. And so
awesome.
it was awesome. So, you know,
And
everybody in the Knicks community is great, you know,
Mitch,
in their own way.
if we make it to the second round, Mitch may come back.
That was a great segue, JD. Yeah. And also thank you for the compliment.
Yo, Delano Steele, shout out to him too, because
facts.
Listen, man, Delano Steele is one of those. For those of you guys that don't know in the chat, he's one of those original supporters of Knicks Fan TV and the Entertainer Talking Sports. You know, MBK, like all these other channels. He is one of those, like, from way back, that when YouTube first started, like, he is one of those original supporters. So he definitely deserves his flowers. You know, he still to this day is supporting, you know, up and comers and everything. So thank you, man. And we definitely see it. So thank you for supporting.
Love
that.
Rod
Cleveland.
Yeah.
This
is
is
a lot of quality content out here when it comes to the Knicks.
Yeah,
this
gotta
is
have
your
the best fan base
speaking.
by far.
Yeah, because the fan. Well, because
Rod, this is for you, Rod. This is for you. This is your captain speaking. Elfrid Payton. What does he say? He goes, Elfrid Payton, pack your stuff, prepare for takeoff to parts unknown. That's how he does it, man. Shout out to Rod Cleveland, the man. It's the Knicks, man. I love that guy. Very respectful, treats everyone with respect, and is a quality individual.
I love his intros. Channel. I love his intros and Sims intros. I love Sims intros. But I mean, partly, I think it's, you know, because the fan base is such a great and robust fan base and so knowledgeable that it creates this dialogue, you know, with the content creators and the fan base and back and forth, and it just keeps growing from there. So it's a big appetite. Big appetite. Stephen A.
Who do you guys think? I have a question for you guys. Who's going to be? I mean, I guess we still have to get to rotation. So I know that's something that people want to see. They want to know if what rotations, if they're gonna, you know, Tibbs gonna cut it, who's gonna play, who's not. And I know Elfrid Payton situations of another popular conversation. Who is going to be the X factor for this series? Forget about overall. Now, forget about the season. This matchup, who is going to be the X factor, the most important player for us to, if we're going to win this series, who definitely has to play well for us?
Well, it's kind of similar to what we were all talking about before. Like, who's the key?
Is it the same thing?
I think so. I think RJ, for me, it's still RJ. You know, because I mean, if he starts going off, who do they have to put on him? Hunter, who's good, but then that's gonna, you know, it's gonna get. Hopefully, it'll get Hunter into foul trouble. Who are they gonna put? They're gonna Collins can't guard him. I don't know who they have, because Cam Reddish is he's hurt. He's not gonna be.
And George,
he might come back the next round.
For their next round, if they survive us.
You have a good candidate, because this season, in 39 minutes per game, RJ has averaged 21 points, almost 8 rebounds, and 4 assists in 3 games against the Hawks, and he's shooting 47% from the field and 37.5% from 3 in 5 3-point attempts per game. So he's had a great game. You guys remember that matchup at first with Cam Reddish? Everybody was talking about that, and he schooled them. You know, like RJ played well. So I think this is a favorable matchup for RJ. If you ask me, he just has to be careful when he gets he gets around the rim against Capella.
Look, this is what's fun about playoffs. You know, when you have one opponent for a minimum of 4 games, and you can just totally key in, and you can find the weak spots. And with Thibs and that crew, that the coaches, they're going to tell. And RJ is a sponge. They're gonna, for all we know, they're gonna be like, look, Just shoot from the elbow. Keep shooting from the elbow. We're going to work plays to get you space. Just keep shooting from the elbow. And then all week long, he's just going to practice that. And then that'll be it. We'll be facing the Sixers in the second round.
You want to get into rotations, Quis?
Hey, Jesse Rodriguez. Thank you, brother. I'm sipping JMO. JMO. And just email me to Knicksverse@gmail.com. And we'll work it out. That's how I've been doing it right now. I haven't set up a store yet.
That hat is fire, George.
Yeah.
Where's my hat, George?
I'm going to send
you
it
keep
up
playing
this week.
me.
You've
been saying that for the last month, man. Send me my hat.
Mm-hmm.
By the way, he's in California. He's in LA. He's in fancy ass LA.
Yeah,
so,
I was at a bar on Thursday night after that game, and I was at a bar, and just some random dude was like, "Hey, you're a Knicks fan?" I was like, "Yeah." I was wearing the hat because he saw Knicksverse on the back, and then my friend was like, "Is he a Knicks fan? He's got a whole channel, blah blah blah." And the guy's like, "No way, blah blah." We ended up talking for like half an hour about it and stuff. There's a lot of Knicks fans in LA.
Yeah, man. And I mean, but you're originally from New York, so
yeah,
a lot of people were like, "How are you a Knicks?" I mean, I even saw somebody comment on one of your videos. How are you a Knicks fan in LA?
I grew up in Queens. I was a little kid. I was born in Jersey, lived there for like 3 days in the hospital, and then I went to Astoria, and then Rego Park and Left Rack City. Man, that was rough. I was already in a gang when I was 6 years old. That's how Queens was rough back then, guys. But then I moved to Manhattan. Lived there,
Queens.
Yeah, and but I ended up doing high school out here in LA, but I went back for college in New York and lived there for another 15 years, and that's when I was there for that. That's it. I was there for that game. The dunk. And I was also there for one game where, I don't know if you guys know about it, but I got to find the link and post it because I showed it for my son once. It was the most insane fight that broke out in the stands, up in the nosebleed seats. And it was on the other side. And you could see all the security guards running towards it like this. And people were, it was like all out melee, the whole section. People were tumbling down, and that the players stopped and they were watching it go, whoa. The game stopped because of it. And they were watching it. Crazy. Those were crazy times, man.
The 90s, man. Those were the 90s. Years. Those were the years, man. Quis, what we think about rotations?
Your mic's not on, Quis.
My bad.
Quis was muted this whole time.
Yeah.
Yeah, I was OD. Maybe for like what? Maybe 2 minutes?
It's because we never shut up, JD. That's why. He's like, I'm gonna chill.
You guys are guests, you got to get your points off. Get your points off. I can always head back and record my video anytime I feel like it. So do what you got to do. So when it comes to rotations, if he's gonna shorten up the rotations, he might as well bench Peyton. If you're gonna adjust the rotations like that, because other than that, what are you gonna do? You're gonna cut IQ's minutes. You're gonna cut Obi's minutes.
Yeah.
I mean, I think it's going to be. I think Peyton's going to start game one. I just, I mean, I don't buy into this. I don't buy into the thing that I understand the point of we've gone this far and we got 41 wins with it. But my thinking is it doesn't necessarily mean that it's working when he's on the floor. Like, yes, the team has managed to win games, but it doesn't mean that, we're doing it effectively when he's on the floor. So I think there's two different conversations here. Yes, we have 41 wins, but, when Elfrid Payton's on the floor, you see it. It's like today, it's like playing 5-on-4 at this point. Now, he did contribute. You have to give him his respect and his credit. He did contribute to many of our wins. And there was a point earlier in the season where he was being aggressive and he was finishing better than what he is now. Now it's like he can't even hit anything, so it's like But I think because Tibbs likes the way it's working, Rose coming off the bench with Burks and this and that in the fourth, I think he just wants to keep it that way. Game 1, Elfrid Payton starts. But I think there's going to be a shorter leash even than what it is now. Because although Tibbs has been a major Elfrid Payton supporter, right? Even Tom Thibodeau has lost confidence in Elfrid Payton. All you have to do is look at the decrease in minutes that Elfrid Payton has had recently in the last 2-3 weeks, right? So even Tom Thibodeau has lost confidence in Elfrid Payton, but not to the point where he's just going to make drastic changes. Now, the playoffs, we're down 1-0 or 2-0, that may be a different story, right? Like if we lose game 1 and it was because when Elfrid Payton was on the floor, we went down 9 or 10 and we couldn't recover, then Tom Thibodeau is going to be asked, listen, this is what's happening when he's on the floor. What are you going to do? Then in the playoffs, it's a different story. You make changes. But going into game 1, I think Elfrid Payton starts game 1. I think it's going to come down to Obi and Frank for that 10th spot, because I think you're going to have Taj Gibson, number 6, that's 6 off the bench, IQ 7, Burks 8, right? And then who am I missing?
You think Burks will be the 8th off the bench?
No, not in order. I'm talking about how many players.
Obi's going to play.
You got the starting 5, and then you have Burks 6, Rose 7, IQ 8, Gibson 9. That's 9 players. So does he go to a 10-man rotation? Because if he does, in this matchup, you can make a case that Frank is more valuable than Obi, because you can use Frank versus Trae Young and use his length on Trae Young to disrupt Trae Young in pick and roll situations, which Trae Young loves to play, is that pick and roll situation to where he can draw the foul, get to the basket. So I think you have 9 that are set. I think that 10 spot is going to be between Obi and Frank. I think he's going to interchange it depending on how the game,
but you got to keep playing Obi though.
Obi's going to play.
Julius Randle a spell. Yeah.
He's the only power forward.
I was thinking benching Elfrid because we're seeing that Alec Burks can run the second unit. So if we were to bench Elfrid Payton, elevate Derrick Rose into the starting lineup, then at least we still have Alec Burks that can at least facilitate the offense with that second unit, and we have IQ out there for a scoring, for a scoring push. If we continue to have Elfrid Payton in this starting lineup, I think if we get to a slow start, if you look at an offensive team like the Hawks, it's going to be hard to dig ourselves out these holes. The way the Knicks are built, we're almost built like a football team that has to play with a lead, where we don't get too crazy and we just get the lead and we run the ball and run out the clock. We can't get into this high-scoring affair, have the Hawks get into a 10, 12-point lead, and then decide to bench Payton, bring in Rose, and wish he can and hope that he can bring us back. I think we have to make a switch so that we get to a better start in this playoff games, in these playoff rounds.
Yeah, I
agree with that point.
Elf is going to start because I just don't see. I don't think you make a major change like that as the first game in the playoffs. He would have already made the move. I'm talking about Thibodeau's. He would have already have made the move. And I know there were factors. D Rose tweaked his ankle, and then Burks got COVID. Remember Burks started getting a lot of point guard time. I think back then, Thibs was thinking, okay, I have to start preparing for removing Elf from the starting slot. But now at this point, I just don't. I mean, if he does it, fantastic. But I just don't see it happening. But look at it. I mean, Elf in the first quarter, he had two turnovers, and he missed a 2-foot shot. That's what he gave us.
When you say it like that.
So that's what I'm saying. You get off to start like that against a really good team like Atlanta. If he's not neutralizing Trae, then what's his value?
Now here's where he could be valuable, because we see this in baseball a lot. We see it in the NBA as well, where, listen, at the end of the day, right, the season's over. And so a new season is going to begin next week. And if he has a productive game 1, guess what? This is New York. New Yorkers, Knicks fans around the world, you know how we are. I mentioned that to you on the phone yesterday, Quis and George, about the New York mentality. Yankee fans with their expectations, where if you produce when it counts, nobody cares what you did before.
Yeah.
And as I'm looking right now at how he performed against the Hawks this season, he had a game where he had 14 points, 2 blocks, 5 assists, 3
Yeah, that was
rebounds.
one of his decent games.
He shot 6 for 18, but he was aggressive,
yeah.
Right? He had the other game. He had 6 points, 3 steals, 3 assists, 3 for 9 in 17 minutes. Another game, the third game, 12 points, a steal, 7 rebounds, 3 offensive rebounds, 5 for 12 in the field. Any of those 3 performances, the Knicks will sign up for right now based on how he's played within the last 16, 17 games. So I think Tom Thibodeau looks at that. We all know he's going to start game 1, and I think Thibodeau hopes with the Hawks' shaky defense, can he give us enough to where I don't have to answer questions in the post game why I left Peyton 5-6 minutes more than I should have? You know what I mean? So he's been your starter all season. So why not let it play for the first game? Let's see if he can give you something.
It's not even a discussion. Elfrid Payton is going to start game 1 against the Hawks.
That's your guy.
I just don't see.
We're talking about the entire round, though. We're not
the
saying
entire round. Okay, here's the thing. If
game 1,
all right, let's play out the doomsday scenario. He starts game 1, and Trey goes off, and he's terrible. He does the turn. He gives us the first quarter that he gave us today. And we're down by 20 by the first quarter, and we just never able to recover. Maybe then Thibs finally pulls him. But if it's the same old where we kind of keep it close in the first quarter and Elf does his whatever shit he does out there, and it annoys the fuck out of all of us, but he pulls him after 7 minutes, 5, 6, 7 minutes. He, gives a couple of fouls, kind of keeps Trey a little bit in check. It's all about rhythm too. If he can disrupt Trey's rhythm, keep him on ice, through the first, 8 minutes of the first quarter, or even whatever 9 minutes, then that's his value. In Thibs' mind, that's his value, because he wants to preserve his guy, Derrick Rose, to come in and so Rose comes in and exploits that second unit. Our second unit is better than the majority of second units in the NBA, which is a total shocker. I don't think any of us expected that. So we have a leg up, with IQ, Burks, D Rose, Obi. I love watching those guys play. I love the way the ball moves around. The speed increases, the transition game increases, and I like you guys. I don't know if you've been noticing, but Thibs has been leaving RJ in with that unit, because he doesn't like to pull RJ and Randle off the court at the same time. He was doing that for a while, and it didn't work out. So now he takes Randle out first, leaves RJ in with that unit. And then what's great is, if Rose is feeling it, then he's feeling it. If he's not, RJ kind of handles it, takes the point. Actually, he initiates the offense at that time. And that's a nice unit. Sometimes that second unit lately, remember when the second unit was garbage back in January and stuff, and we build a lead.
Before Rose got here.
Yeah. And now that second unit sometimes builds leads or gets us back into the game that the Elfrid first unit gives up.
George, who starts if we get to a point?
What was that?
And even to what Quis is saying, I think it leads to that. If we get to a point to where you just can't play him, who are you starting?
I think you have to start Derrick Rose. You have to, because we have Burks and IQ and Frank, who can all and remember, like Quis was saying, Julius, he's really the point guard on this team most of the time, and then when Julius needs a break or we have a nice matchup advantage, RJ takes the point. So the burden of the point guard isn't as strong on this team, surprisingly, because I didn't really see this happening on this team. It's not as imagine like Atlanta without Trey. You know, I mean, the ball's got to be in Trey's hands all the time for them to win. Yeah. Pino.
Celebrating, baby. Celebrating.
J-Mo.
Celebrating that Knicks win. The Knicks season.
Got a bottle of water.
So wait.
Good enough.
You wouldn't start Burks?
I mean, I would not start Burks. No.
Okay.
I would not start him.
Hope Lucky Alvarez thinks we should start Rose ASAP.
Yeah,
I mean, we're 3-0 with Rose as the starter. We have a sample size, although it may be small.
I did a whole video about that. Derrick Rose should be the starter based upon his performance with this team and his chemistry with the team.
Mm-hmm.
But you know, Thibs obviously didn't agree with that video. Because I know he watched.
It sounds like by his from the press conferences, it sounds like he's starting to change his mind. Though he's starting to lean towards what the fan base is thinking.
He's there. He's there. He's just trying to find the right way to do it. And again, like we were just saying, Rose tweaking that ankle and then Burks getting COVID messed up that plan. And then IQ was coming on, and then he kind of faded back a little bit. But IQ's been inconsistent. Remember he had that bad stretch.
Yeah. I wonder if Hope Lucky Alvarez is a Chicago Bulls fan or a Knicks fan, because we talked about this. It is unreal how popular and how beloved Rose is, not only in the Knicks community, but just around the world in the US. I wonder, there's people, when we talk about Rose, you don't know who's in the chat. You could have a bunch of Bulls fans in the chat, supporting Rose. It's really crazy.
Yeah. Derrick Rose has a huge following. Huge. Yeah. But yeah, I mean, Rose says minutes aren't an issue. And he actually got a little bit annoyed. I don't know if you guys saw that press conference when he was asked the question. It was like, no. He was a little terse with the guy. Not with the guy, just about the concept, because he knows it's out there that he's on a minutes restriction. And Berman constantly keeps asking Thibs about it and Rose. And he's like, no, I'm fine.
Speaking of Berman, Macri, shout out to Jonathan Macri at Knicks Film School. Love Macri.
Yes.
He asked Thibodeau today about, lineup changes and stuff. And Tip said now everything's on the table. Mm-hmm. So yes, just a little food for thought.
I would love it. It just seems odd that if that's on the table now, why hasn't it been on the table all this time? When Rose came back, why didn't he just pull him?
The playoffs are different atmosphere. Maybe he thought we could get where we needed to get through to the end of the season, and then he can throw a curveball.
Oh my God, nothing would make me happier.
Prepared for the Peyton to be.
Nothing would make me happier if, when the jump ball happens, Elf is in his sweats,
right next to
chilling with a Gatorade in his hand on the bench.
Well, that's another thing I don't like about Peyton. He's supposed to be the starting point guard, and we talked about this last night. Chemistry is supposed to be one of the main building blocks of this team, and we're seeing time and time again in timeouts and late game situations, he's off and away from the team, and he's not with us building a camaraderie and cheering the remaining portions of the team on. I don't understand that. I don't get that. And I feel like if you're gonna separate yourself from the team, maybe we might need to bring somebody else in that's going to feed off this team chemistry and actually be a benefit to this team. Like I keep saying it over and over again. Alfred Payton was minus 97 on a 9-game winning streak. A winning streak in where we won 3 of those games by 20 some odd points. That doesn't add up.
That's why I don't buy into the whole thing of it's worked to this point. I don't buy into that, because
I don't buy into it either.
I understand the whole philosophy of it, but it doesn't mean that it's okay, fine. The season is over. It's gotten us to this point, but in the playoffs, that's not going to work. If Alfred, as I told you guys privately, in the playoffs, you guys know in the chat, we as Knicks fans for the past, I don't know how many years since we last made the playoffs, we've watched the playoffs on TV because the Knicks haven't made it. We see in the playoffs, you hear the cliches, but they're fact. The playoffs are a true possession by possession game.
Every possession.
You can't go out there and waste time. You can't go out there and waste possessions. You can't waste minutes. You can't experiment. This is the time where literally every possession matters, every minute matters, every mistake matters.
You guys,
so Randle,
you guys are fucking with me. So you're making me think that Thibs is going to finally make this move.
No,
right.
What I'm saying is, don't be surprised.
Let me read this tweet. Let me read this tweet that you, JD, sent. You sent this tweet to me, JD. There are 126 players in the NBA averaging more than 10 field goal attempts per game this season. Per B-ball reference, Elfrid Payton is the only one of those 126 players shooting below 45% from the floor, below 30% from the three-point territory, and below 70% from the free throw stripe. Of 126 players in the NBA averaging more than 10 field goal attempts per game, he is the worst.
That's wow. But again, I think,
and he's a starting point guard of a fourth seed.
And look, I'll tell the chat this, just like, there's a lot of people that ask why. Does he have, people even make jokes? Does he have something on Tibbs? Does he have some secret pictures or anything that Tibbs starts him? The problem with Elf, and you guys will see this in the future with Elf's future, which is individually, that's why I'm concerned about his future in the NBA. His game is not a fit for today's modern NBA. And Elfrid Payton, when GMs construct NBA rosters, when you look at the way a GM constructs a bench, they're looking for spark plugs. They're looking for a bunch of Emmanuel Quickleys, a bunch of Alec Burks, a bunch of Derrick Roses, Terry Roziers. Like, they're looking for these Lou Williams, these scorers at the guard positions. They're not looking, Rondo gets away with it because he's playoff Rondo. Rondo's a champion.
He also finishes at the rim.
When he gets there. Elfrid Payton, this is not, Alvin Williams with the Raptors and Eric Snow back with the Sixers. Like, those are the Elfrid Payton type players. Those guys are not surviving in today's NBA. So the problem with Elfrid Payton is he's not a fit with the bench players. You can't play him with Rose. You can't play him with Quickly. I mean, if you guys remember the game against the Pelicans to end the game, he tried to end the game with Payton, and Tibbs admitted to his own mistake. With like 2 possessions later, he went back to Quickly because Payton fits better with the starting lineup because you can steal minutes with Randle and Barrett. Randle can carry the offense for 5-6 minutes. You can steal minutes with Payton. Payton off the bench is not a fit in today's NBA. So after this season, I'm interested to see how he fits. To me, this whole thing that people say he could be a backup point guard for what team? For what team? He in China. For what team? So, unless you're talking about a championship ready team to win now, I don't see how he fits in the NBA unless he he works in the offseason at either finishing better or developing some type of decent shot.
Yeah. No. So maybe Thibs does make that move. Whoa, that'd be wild if he did it.
That'd be fire.
That would be crazy.
I think we take to the streets and celebrate.
Yeah.
Yo, Quis, what do you think the rookies gonna do, man? What do you think this means for the rookies? Yeah.
You already know IQ's my guy. So I'm expecting IQ to come out here and do his thing. I mean, IQ had his coming out party, if I'm not mistaken, against the Hawks. Wasn't it when he stripped Trey?
Yes.
And he had a couple dagger threes?
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes.
So I'm expecting IQ to go out there and have a pretty good game as well.
I think he dropped someone on the Hawks.
He dropped like 24. Let me pull up the games. He had a couple.
No, I'm talking about crossover. He dropped someone. He snapped somebody's ankles.
Yeah, he snapped some ankles.
We dropped.
I don't know if it was Goodwin or someone.
I think it was Goodwin.
It was someone on.
Hey, shout out to Stanley Man in the chat, and Omari and B Civilized, everybody in the chat.
Yes, NSET,
holding us down in the chat. Greatly appreciate it.
Thank you, Civilized, Easy P, King Ja, 1985.
Hey, if you guys
Yaka Man.
drop any questions you guys have in the chat for us.
Hope Lucky Alvarez.
Q&A.
Yeah.
Big task.
Are we ready for a Q&A? I mean, we kind of.
Yeah. I mean, we've kind of been doing the Q&A.
We can keep doing this. We did this last night on a Zoom call.
Yeah, pretty much on a Zoom. Oh yeah. And just for Easy P, he's saying Rose can't give you starter minutes. In the 3 games Rose has started, I think he averaged 32.5 minutes per game. So he can give us some minutes in a playoff push. I mean, in a playoff run. So he's not going to do it for the entire season, I don't think. But in these games where we're probably only going to go to maybe the second round, and if we're lucky Easter Conference final, he can hold it down for us.
Yeah, he can hold it down for us.
Yeah,
he says it. He sees himself as. I mean, he'll do whatever Thibs wants him to do because he's that kind of guy. That's the relationship they have. But he doesn't see himself as a second unit guy only playing 20, 25 minutes. The only reason help is on the Knicks. Because he was drafted by Scott Perry.
That China talk.
That actually, that's for real. Stanley, that's for real.
Salute the quiet money.
That's a good question. Wait, the only reason
Scott Perry drafted him in Orlando.
Yeah, man. Yeah, Scott Perry.
I wanted them to fire Scott Perry when he resigned him. I'm like, that's a Scott Perry hiring. You're bringing back Alfred Payton. You gotta go.
Salute, quiet money.
Job for that.
Quiet buddy. Salute, man. Somebody asked King Philip how many games will this series go. I think it's time to give those.
I think 6.
Those predictions.
Minimum 6. I think it could go 7, which is why it's great that we have
7
home court.
Knicks are gonna win in 6.
I think this series. I want to say 6. I think this series is meant to go 7, man. It's just the Knick thing. You know what I mean? Like, let's decide this at the Garden. Although the road games is probably you might as well say it's at the Garden because there's so many Atlanta Knicks fans and people from New York. I have a friend that's actually traveling. He's flying out to Atlanta on Wednesday, and he's gonna get ready to go to whenever they announce game 1. So, but I see this. We discussed it. This series is not gonna be easy, man, and I see this going 7. Because I see us losing one game on a Tom Thibodeau, goof move, because Tom Thibodeau doesn't have a winning record in the playoffs. Like he's been great, but he's not Phil Jackson, he's not Greg Popovich. Now, you know what I mean? Like, let's have
there are very few coaches that have winning records in the playoffs because you got to be the last one standing to actually have a winning record.
I'm just saying, like,
did the Bulls?
Nate McMillan is a good coach. Nate McMillan is a solid coach. He's a very good coach. He's a very good defensive coach. So I see this going 7. I see the Garden's energy pulling this off, and I think it's meant to be the way this season. Like when you have seasons like this season, and if you look at Cinderella teams in the past and teams that it doesn't happen easy. Like, yes, this could go 5, 6, whatever, but it just doesn't happen easy. It's part of the story. So as part of the story, I'm going to say 7-game series and the Knicks pull it off at the Garden.
I think 6 at the minimum, 7. Yeah, for sure. Yeah.
Which is going to make it sweeter at the end.
It's when I look at it, it looks like one of the best matchups. We got Milwaukee, Miami is going to be an interesting matchup. But I think the Knicks Atlanta, it will be a more interesting series, actually. And then on the West Coast, Clippers Dallas could be interesting because Luka's got those boys playing. Denver Portland, those guys are always interesting. Lakers, the Lakers Golden State in the play-in, that's going to be insane. If Steph goes off for 40 plus, and they could beat the Lakers, and the Lakers are out, bounced. And technically, they would not have qualified for the playoffs. That would be a crazy story. But then if that happens, they match up against Phoenix. That would be an interesting. There's going to be some good. I mean, I love NBA playoffs, man. I love the NBA playoffs. I'm pumped.
Yeah, really 25 has a question. He's talking about the rotations. He's saying, will Tibbs go with the Van Gundy 7 to 8 man rotation? If so, who are the 8? I think, George, you kind of counted them earlier, right?
I think
he's gonna.
Let's go. If he says 8, let's go with 8. Who would be the 8 if he went 8 or 9?
I don't think it's going to be 8. I think it's I think it's going to be he'll like what he's doing now. But maybe Obi only gets 8 minutes, and and then Elf gets his 8 minutes or whatever.
But if it were to be 8, George, who would be your 8? Because you're saying that, but Tibbs may go 9-10 for game 1, and depending on game 1 goes, he'll just say, you know what, forget that.
Mm-hmm.
I'm dialing it back. So if it was 8, who would be your 8?
The 8 would be, well, obviously we got the main guys here. Julius, RJ, Nerlens, Taj, for sure. Those 4 are a lock to play. And then I'm holding this pinky down because that's Peyton. I'm holding it down because you guys now got me all thinking, wait a second here. Thibs might be doing Thibs might be doing some stuff in the lab, tinkering.
He has a week.
Yeah. Reggie Bullock, he's the 5th guy. Derrick Rose.
Gotta go with a big.
Burks.
7.
So that's why I think that's 8. I mean, 7. And I think Obi. We're gonna need Obi. So it's 8.
So no Taj?
IQ might be if he limits it to 8. IQ might be the one that it becomes what does he call him? Situational. So IQ and Frank become the situational people.
I don't think he goes 8. I think he might go 8 in terms of big minutes, but I think the ending result on the box score, if we're going by
well, now you're cheating. He said, "What's your 8?" Yeah, I don't think.
No, because
10. I think he's going to play 10.
But I'm saying is if we go by his scenario, I just think it's gonna be I can see him going 8 in terms of minutes, but in the box score, I can see 9 popping up because I just think Elfrid Payton may get like 10 minutes.
Yeah.
Which may turn out to be irrelevant. You know what I mean? So I think it could go 8, but then Elfrid Payton may be 9th, but just with minimal minutes.
What do you think, Quis?
Would be the starting 5. So that's Elf, RJ, Bullock, Randle, and Noel. You're definitely gonna have Gibson back up Noel. And then Derrick Rose and Burks. Those would be the 8. Because he's definitely gonna play Burks. Burks is the closer now.
Yeah.
And he's gonna play Derrick Rose. So those would be the 8. Yeah. You would see IQ, Obi, and Frank would be the odd men out.
Yeah. Oh, really? I think Obi's gonna get burned because
you got to give Randle a breather.
Yeah, you got to give him
You're
a
not
breather.
going to play Noel and Gibson. You're not going to do Twin Towers out here.
No. And you're not going to, I mean, you can run RJ out there as the power forward for a little bit. He could play power forward for like 3-4 minutes or whatever.
He could play the 3. I don't know if he's going to play the 4, especially against John Collins. John Collins is going to
not against this team. Yeah. Maybe a smaller team.
Maybe they go small ball.
Yeah, they go
Maybe
small.
Have Bogdan out there.
Hey, you never know. Bogdan has been tearing it up, but he wasn't earlier in the season. He could go cold again.
AC Sergio in the chat has a good point. In my opinion, he says he ain't going 8. Our strength is our bench, and the reason why we win the series.
Exactly.
I think
that's why he's going to play 10. He's going to play 10.
Yeah, Tibbs's history is showing the rotation. I just think this team is unique, and like AC Sergio's comment, I think this team, their bench is their strength, and so I don't know that he can go 10 to start. I could see him cutting it down to 9. It's all going to depend on how this series start.
Yeah,
let me ask you this, Quis.
If someone shits the bed, like let's say Obi is in or IQ is in there and he like turns it over a couple of times, he could pull and and then clamp it down and reduce the rotation. But I think he's going to go 10.
Quis. So we have home court, right? So game 1 and 2 is going to be at the Garden. I ask you and I ask the chat this. Is game 1 a must win for the New York Knicks?
I won't say it's a must win,
No.
but it's definitely imperative that we get up to a good start. That's why I was so upset to see how we came out this game against the Celtics, seeing that they were going to be shorthanded and that we knew we needed to win this game in order to secure, home court. So for us to not go into this series off to a hot start, I think that's upsetting. But game one is not going to be a must win.
Now, remember, though, this is not an experienced team. So if we go down 1-0, you talk about pressure. You talk about that post game. Tibbs is gonna feel pressure to make a lineup change in game 2. I tend to agree.
You got to remember, we weren't supposed to be here.
We're playing with house money.
but now we're here. So now we have to look at how we can win.
But that's what the media says in that locker room right now. The Knicks are somewhere where they're not supposed to be. And everybody's counting against them. So I think they're coming out regardless, and they're going to have a great series. So I don't think game one is a must win. I think we've seen the Knicks lose and bounce back in games after that and make adjustments. They don't make great in-game adjustments from game to game.
Yeah. Because of our defense, I don't think that dropping game one is going to be, that devastating. It's not going to set us. It's not going to like dictate the whole series if we drop game one, which against some other opponents.
It also depends how we lose too. If we get blown out game one, then that's going to be rough.
Yeah,
especially at home.
If we get blown out because we played like shit, or if we get blown out because the Hawks just go off, that's two different things. Because they have the shooters. We could play great defense and still lose if the Hawks fucking go off. I mean, Bogdanovich, Trey, Hunter, Collins, all those guys, Lou Will, they're lighting it up.
Man, just like King John 1985 says, losing game one would be tough because I think the best case scenario for Tibbs would be to win game one, because that would mean that you can keep Elfrid Payton in the starting lineup. Now, that doesn't mean that that's what we want as fans or us as the panelists, but when you talk about that philosophy of it's worked and we've gotten this far, I think Tibbs would like it that way. So if that's what you want, you don't want to go down 1-0 and then game two, you're experimenting, because as a coach, you have to make adjustments. You can't lose game one and then go into game two potentially with the same rotation. Now, obviously, we would have to see how the game played out. But I think the Knicks really need to get game one. Just set the tone. Listen, also, we've beaten them in the seaing.
When you say need, do you mean like okay, I guess the way I'm looking at it is, does losing game one mean it's gonna cost us the series? I don't think so. That's why I'm saying 7 games. I think regardless of what happens in game one, Thibs is going to make the adjustments. The players themselves are going to make the adjustments, and we played tremendous defense. So we're going to recover. We'll get that second game when we drop game one and go back to Atlanta. For all we know, we could take both in Atlanta and then come back 4-1. So I just don't want to hear 3-1. I know you don't want it. I think you're just right. You're talking from an anxiety standpoint as a fan. That's a different mentality. I'm talking about the players, like Quis was saying, the guys in the locker room, they know who they are. These guys are ballers. They're all
well. They're gonna find out, George. They don't really know yet. They're gonna find out. A lot of these players don't have playoff experience, but they're gonna find out who they are.
Either does Atlanta. Yeah, Atlanta could do this where they blow us out in game one and think, oh, we got the Knicks, and then drop the next 3 and. I've seen this happen. We've all seen this happen, in especially in the playoffs, where game one's a blowout, and game two the team comes back. Denver, look what Denver did. Look what Denver's done the past 2 playoffs years. They've come back from down 3-1. This team is there's too much good chemistry on this team, and the truth is they are playing with house money, so everything is gravy here, but they want to go as far as they can. I don't think dropping game one is going to crush this team. That's my feeling.
I also wouldn't call it an experiment, because like I said before, we've seen Derrick Rose in the starting lineup and we've seen the team be undefeated. So, and also if you elevate Derrick Rose into the starting lineup, you really don't have to throw off the rest of the rotation. Like you guys said, we've been going 10 deep for the most part. So we elevate Derrick Rose. Our second unit won't change that.
He's just talking about from an anxiety stress standpoint. from a fan. Like
George,
I want them to win. I want them to win 4-0.
I know, George, but if we go down 1-0, you're talking about now. This is not the Lakers with Kobe and Shaq and like those teams they didn't care if they were down. LeBron James teams, they don't care if they go down. Like these are experienced guys. They know how to respond to pressure situations. They know how to respond to adversity. This team is going through this experience for the first time. You give this Atlanta Hawks team confidence. You go down 0-1. Now Tom Thibodeau, going into game 2, guess what? Elfrid Payton may start. And what will you need to do in game 2 if you're down game 1? If you're down 1-0, guess what? You're gonna need to have a fast start because you go down 6-8 points in game 2 after you down 1-0. Them wrists are gonna get tight, them cheeks are gonna get tight. You know what I mean? And things could turn for the worse. So I think if they can win game 1,
yeah.
And you know how history it is with these percentages. Yeah. You win game 1, you have a certain percentage of winning the series. I think game 1 may be a must win.
Okay, I'm so JD's on must win. Yes, for game 1. It's not a must win. I would love it, of course. I'm highly confident that if we drop game 1, it's not going to dictate the whole series. But again, like you said, it depends on how we lose it. So
yeah, I think it's all subjective to how it plays out as well. Like if we lose game 1 because some wild stuff happened and it was at the buzzer or something,
well, like that shit.
Yeah, if it was a nail biter, you can't
like
get
RJ doing that stupid play.
The inbound
against the Lakers.
The inbound. Like if it's shit like that, then that's demoralizing. Yeah,
very.
Yeah,
very. You're gonna start hearing people say we got to bench him if he starts doing nonsense like that,
right?
Especially in the playoffs.
I think Frank
do it.
I think Frank may be key in this series more than what we think.
Frank's gonna get some burn.
He may not get a lot. I just think situational.
Elevate Rose and then put Franklin. And then you could put Frank into the second unit.
Frank Roosevelt.
And then you have Burke still operating as the facilitator, as the floor general, and then you have Frank as a defensive specialist who can knock down, catch and shoot threes.
Yeah. I think it's encouraging that we've seen Tibbs play him in these situations and in the games. I think that means that Tibbs is opening up to potentially playing Frank.
I think it's like he said, the tea leaves. I think it's a sign that there's a possibility Frank might get Elf's minutes.
Frank might get Elf money next season.
Yeah,
just swap him out.
Who has the best series
right now?
For in this series, who plays the best? Who has the best series?
Probably Derrick Rose.
I think Julius. I think Julius is going to have a great series.
Well, I answered this outside of Julius because we're expecting Julius Randle to lead.
Okay. So we expect.
Do we really? This is his first time.
You wanted to pay a guy 30-something mil, so we got.
Okay. Hold up. You want to start this?
Come on, JD.
Hold up. All right.
You can't argue in one.
I got to take a piss if we're going to start this.
All right. You can't say in one breath that we gotta the max eventually.
Reggie Bullock is going to be a key assassin.
Why are you playing games, Keys? I didn't say we had. I said. You always trying to push the goalpost. I said that if Julius Randle's option gets picked up and he goes to the New York Knicks and he says, "Listen, thank you, you guys. I understand you guys gave me the opportunity. I love you guys, but guess what? I'm a max player and I deserve max money. And if you guys don't give me max money, I'm going to test the waters in free agency." What I'm saying is, if that's his attitude next season by the trade deadline, we don't have leverage and we're going to have to pay him that money. You said that if Randle does
I
that,
didn't say we didn't have leverage. I didn't say we didn't have leverage.
All right. You want to say what you said? Since you want to call me out,
I think we should hold it.
I said we should approach him this offseason and try to sign him to another 2 or 3 year extension.
But if he doesn't do that and he wants the max money, then what are we gonna do, Keith? What are we gonna do?
I'm gonna have to entertain all options and see what my options are. Am I not? I'm gonna have to see what's in front of me.
I love your
make a
political
choice
answer.
there.
Yeah, I mean,
I love your political answer. I'm gonna entertain all my options. That's not what you told me. That's not what you told me on the phone last night, Quis, when we were on for 2 hours arguing this. That's not what you told me on the phone.
My answer was phrased differently, but it went around the same thing. We have to entertain all options.
Yeah,
All
you
in
would
caps.
move him. You
I'm
would
with
move him.
Stanley.
That's
I'm
what
with
you said.
Stanley. Stanley Man said Julius will take Collins' lunch money. He has that Mamba mentality. Yes, I think Julius is going. I think Julius is going to have
Mamba
that
mentality.
big
Y'all get too loose with the everybody got Mamba mentality apparently.
Hey, he actually spent time with the Mamba. The
Yeah,
Mamba
okay.
taught him how to be a pro. You know, he's his favorite player.
I think Tom Thibodeau taught him how to be a pro because he left Kobe and he was still doing a little spin move into the double teams.
Yeah,
it wasn't
that
until
kind of
this
stuff.
season he figured it out.
But I mean,
ask you-
commitment to for hard work.
Hard work.
Yeah.
All right.
Let me
I feel you.
Let me ask you guys this. And this question goes for coaches, the whole organization. If you even want to put James Dolan in it, you could put James Dolan in it. I understand we're playing with house money and that whole thing. I understand that, right? But we're here. Who has, if you had to pick, who has the most pressure on the Knicks in the whole organization for this to go well? Like, who has the most pressure to play well for this series? Like, who has the most pressure to do well? What
Actually,
player
I think it is
cannot
Julius.
afford to
I think
have
it
a
is
bad
Julius.
series?
I think Julius has the most pressure to play well.
Easily by far. Because like we said, he's gonna have these contract negotiations in the offseason.
By far?
he's gonna have
So
to
wait.
perform.
By far? So what if RJ has a stinker? Think that's
If
well?
RJ
That's
has
good.
I don't think it matters.
That's not good, but it's not as bad as Julius Randle, a player that is an all-star. He's probably going to be selected to one of the NBA he's going to be all NBA.
Mm-hmm.
And to put out a stinker in the playoffs is going to be a bad look, especially under the brightest lights of New York City.
Exactly.
So he's definitely going to have the most pressure by far because we've said this before. The Knicks aren't the most talented team. It's by working together. So if Julius Randle does not have his teammates there to support him, it's going to be a long night. And we already know the back page is going to have Julius Randle right on the back.
Mm-hmm.
Post, the Daily News, Times, all of them.
Who? So you okay? So everybody says Julius, and some
That's
people
the
in the
most
chat.
pressure.
Okay, who out of Burks and Bullock, who plays better this series?
Burks or Bullock?
I think they're. I don't know.
I think Burks will play better. Burks has a higher ceiling when it comes to his level of play.
Yeah, well, because Burks is a 3-level scorer.
Yeah, but Bullock might play better for what his role is.
Bullock's been
Burks,
locked
I think,
in.
has more responsibility because Burks could be the ball handler of the team in the fourth quarter and all that stuff. But for what Bullock is asked to do, he may execute that better than what Burks responsibility. That's why I think it's a good question.
Who's Bullock going to guard?
What Bullock is, he shows up in the first and then he just disappears until like the.
See, look, the chat is up and down. You got some Burks and you got some Bullock.
Yeah. They're very because
well,
you know
now
what?
you're going more Burks.
The success of the team, is dependent on one of those two doing well. You know, it doesn't have to be both of them in each game, but let's say the first game Bullock is great, and then the second game it's Burks. We just need one of those two guys to give us meaningful minutes and meaningful scoring. And I don't see both getting colds together. Not the way they've been playing now. Bullock has been locked in, and Burks, you know, we saw what he did the other night. I think they're both going to deliver, but in terms of pressure,
we need them to.
Yeah, we need them to. I think they have equal amount of pressure. The two.
Who plays better? Who has a better series? Taj Gibson or Nerlens Noel?
Noel. He better. Yeah. He's gonna be out there for more minutes on the court.
Yeah,
he may get into a little foul trouble,
and we're gonna be.
And you know, Tibbs loves Gibson.
Peel off the bench.
Yeah,
no, you know, Tibbs
is it Peel or Pell? How you say it? Is it Peel or Pell?
Pell.
I think it's Pell.
All right,
Norvell.
I'm calling him Norvell Peel.
Is it?
I like the way Peel.
Yeah, I think it's Pell. It's Pelle. Yeah, it's Pell.
Oh, copy.
Isn't that French or something? Pell.
I wouldn't. I should know. My name's French, but yeah, no. All I know in French is "Je m'appelle Maki." That's all I know.
Oh, look at that!
Oh yeah, in high school,
throwing
I took
down
a year
the
in French, a year in Latin, and a year in Spanish. Can't speak none of them.
Who on the Hawks you think we don't? Who on the Hawks you think we don't stop? For whatever
Trey,
reason,
obviously, and then who don't we stop? I don't think anybody other than Trey. Even Trey's not unstoppable. So I think we're gonna find ways to stop him. It's gonna be a different player every game, though.
Yeah,
that's gonna be able to go off. We just have to contain everyone outside of that outlier.
Yeah,
I think Gallinari or Lou Williams, one of those two is gonna have a big series.
A whole series, or
no, a big series. One of those two. I think one of those two has a big series. Like they play well throughout the series. You're talking about two veterans, two good shooters, two players that have been,
Herder.
I can see her. I can see Herder actually. Young player.
Bogdanovich.
They have. That's what I'm saying. You see, they have so many options.
Yeah, but there's only one ball,
series, man.
Yeah,
it's only one ball. But with the way they run up and down the court, they're gonna be able to pass that thing a few times.
Yeah, I know they're dangerous, but they still.
Some people in the chat, they worried about Collins, your boy.
Mm-hmm. You got to be worried about Collins because he can go off. I mean,
and he's playing for a contract.
Julius Randle, he's playing for a contract.
Yeah,
yep. Julius Randle. They say he was a monster and he was beasting on Collins when they were playing. But I think Collins, like you said, looking for a contract and what he can provide to that Hawks team is going to be difficult for us to defend. And if we get into foul trouble, and if Julius Randle's racking up 2-3 fouls, and then we're in that scenario that JD just mentioned, what are we gonna do if we fall behind in game one? Because you take Julius Randle off that court, we're a completely different team when we're going against the starters.
Shout out to Troy Griffith. Shout out to B Civilized. Shout out to Ariel Diaz. They on my side.
Ariel Diaz.
Capella is key. I'm telling you, Capella, he's key.
Wait, who wrote that?
Telling you, control the boards. Yeah. Foxy's worried about Nate McMillan. Good coach. Yep.
Capella's gonna feast on the boards and we've been a little bit weak on the boards, so he's gonna feast, which that's gonna be a big problem because we give those guys, we play great D, we get them to make a bad shot and then fucking Capella gets the rebound and they go all over
give him second chances.
Yeah. God, it frustrates me so much, man.
Who if there's one player that shits the bed, right? This happens. The season's over. Mm-hmm. Everything that happens in the season doesn't always translate to the playoffs. We know this. This is a whole new thing. Everybody's stats is out the window. Now you're being evaluated on a game per game basis. So if there's one player that shits the bed on the Knicks, who do you think that player is or could be?
We talked about him for a long time.
No, but Elfrid Payton, he don't count. I'm talking about somebody. That's gonna get the minutes that Tibbs is gonna play. Elfrid Payton is out of this question. He's the easy answer.
Well, it could be one of those two guys we were talking about, Bullock.
Burke. Bullock or Burke. More likely Bullock though,
because he can go cold. We've seen him.
Mm-hmm.
And you see, but you see, when you answer that question, you're naming players that are also going to be key, which means if they don't play well, it's going to be incredibly frustrating as a Knicks fans to watch.
Yeah.
Like, for example, you saying Bullock, that's going to be frustrating to see Bullock miss open threes or not play good. You know what I mean? Yeah. Like,
but that's why we got two of these guys. That's the beauty of having those two.
Some people are saying RJ.
Depth.
Some people are saying hopefully not RJ. Hopefully not.
Yeah, RJ could have, and I just don't see it. I mean, we broke that down earlier. Why? I think because he's going to get the rest, and I think the coaching staff is going to prepare some plays for him, and he's a sponge. He's going to practice it. He's going to execute it. I just don't see him actually having a bad series. So is he going to have a great series? I don't know. I hope. I think he will. My prediction is we go as far as RJ Barrett takes us in this entire playoffs. But if let's say he just gives us what he gives us, 18 points, 7 or 8 rebounds, 4 assists, a steal or 2, that's what he gives us. I think that's fine. But if he can level up, get into 22, 23, 24, averaging that, maybe double doubles, then, I mean, this is the playoffs. This is what happens. The best, usually in the playoffs, the best players rise even further. And then there's always one guy, who, like, let's say Burks just goes off. He averages 30 for the whole series. Sometimes there's a guy like that.
All right, rapid fire. I just got a text. It looks like a lot of the matchups have been decided. So rapid fire, just give me your predictions. Bucks at home, Bucks against the Heat has been decided.
Bucks
Who wins that series?
Bucks.
George?
Bucks win that series.
Knicks versus Hawks.
Knicks
in
series.
6.
Knicks in 6. I like that.
Right, that's a t-shirt.
Nuggets versus Blazers. Number 3 seed, the Nuggets versus number 6 seed, the Blazers.
Nuggets in 5.
Nuggets, yeah, 5. I'd go with 5.
Clippers 4 seed versus Mavericks.
Clippers in 6.
That's gonna be, it's gonna be a good series.
You said
if
what
KP
you
shows
said,
up
George?
for him.
I think Clippers will win. 6 in 6.
Play-in tournament. Lakers versus Warriors. Woo!
Lakers.
7 versus 8.
I that's a toss-up in my opinion. It's a one game. If it was a full series, of course, Lakers. But one game, one night, Steph goes off, and Draymond just keeps looking for him. Man, their offensive scheme now is incredible to free up Curry now that Clay's not around. All the screens that they have to set and in the way he moves,
IQ better be taking notes.
Yes, he should. He should be watching everything that Curry's doing.
Mm-hmm.
In a one game, look, I wouldn't be surprised. Let's put it this way: I would not be surprised if the Golden State Warriors send the Lakers home. Actually, well, no, because the Lakers would then get a chance to play.
To redeem themselves.
Yeah, they have an option to redeem themselves. But at least I wouldn't be surprised if the Warriors move on.
Grizzlies versus Spurs.
That's an interesting one.
And this is a playing game.
I was quick on the other ones. This one, I don't know.
Yeah.
9 seed Grizzlies versus 10 seed Spurs.
Probably the Spurs. Because the Grizzlies, this is
gonna be a good. This one's gonna be a goodie. 7 seed Celtics play-in tournament versus 8 seed and the late run, the late surging Washington Wizards.
I think the Wizards are gonna win that game.
Brick Brook and Wizards are probably gonna get the Celtics out of here.
What I gotta do to get you to stop saying his name? Like, what I gotta do to get you to say Russell Westbrook? When was the last time you called him by his name?
What did he call him?
He calls him Brick Brook. Brick Brook. Like literally, he's called him that for like how long now, Quis? Come on, man.
I want to see the
years?
Wizards.
I don't know.
I want to see the Wizards go against the Nets.
I wanted to see us go against the Nets.
Yeah.
Pacers versus Hornets.
Hornets. The Pacers are discombobulated right now with a lot of that turmoil going on with that locker room.
Yeah.
But the Hornets lost today, didn't they?
The Hornets lost today.
Yeah, and then Melo's wrist looked a little gimpy when he was working with us. I mean,
Melo's
when he was playing against us, they took him out.
Yeah, he's been airball city too lately.
Mm-hmm. And that's his shooting wrist, no?
Honestly, I got to say, it's really possible that either of the 9 and 10 in the Eastern Conference don't move on at all. That it's going to be Boston and Washington getting the 7th and 8th seeds.
Mm-hmm.
What are your NBA Finals predictions? I got Knicks in 5 at Staples against the Clippers.
Bullshit.
Yeah, you also got some drugs in your house or something.
Wait, how much? What's left in that
Yo,
bottle?
hold on,
What's
hold
left
on,
in that
hold on,
bottle,
hold on,
JD? What's left
hold
in
on,
that?
hold on,
Ah,
hold
yeah.
on, hold on. Y'all don't believe? Y'all don't believe?
No,
Oh, hey.
not that hard, dog. I don't think we're going to the finals. I'd be happy if we
Knicks-
do, but
Knicks
no.
in 5 at Staples. It don't even matter who it is.
I'm going to drop a video that lays out a scenario where it's possible for the Knicks to get to the finals. And I'm going to show you how.
First.
You heard it here first. I'm going to drop it. It's going to take a little time to do it because, you know, if the numbers and the analysis doesn't bear it out, I won't drop it. But from what I've been seeing and the initial research that I've been doing, there is a path. It does require some injuries happening to other teams, but there's a path, and we've seen it. The playoffs are, you guys know, playoffs are brutal. You know, they're and
George, you see, the biggest hurdle to the Knicks, in my opinion, is the Nets, because I just don't see how anybody stops those 3 players one-on-one. Like, this is the playoffs change. All that season stuff, forget that. I think they've only played like 7 games together, those 3 guys. And
which is why I think they're beatable.
And you've seen, I don't know if it's how legitimate it is, but James Harden was pulled out of the game today because of that hamstring injury. Now, I don't know if that's the Nets reporting that to get him out the game or if he actually hurt his hamstring, but it's a long playoffs. You don't know, injuries could happen.
Exactly.
You know, the Knicks have to win this series in order to then be like, okay,
easy peas,
anything
right?
can happen. Anything can happen.
Right.
Time out. Hey, JD, somebody offered to buy you a bottle. Where did the comment go? There it goes. If that happens, I will personally hand you a bottle of Pinot. How you pronounce it?
Pinot Noir.
Pinot
Noir. The parade. I'm more of a Cabernet kind of guy. So if you are gonna bring some bottles to the parade, Cabernet
Jameson
for me, and Jameson for him. Yeah.
No,
there is a possibility that
if it's not the Knicks, I got Clippers versus the Nets. Yeah, I just think I think people are down. I think people are down on the Clippers because of that Nuggets series. But I think when you really look at it, they were up every game they had to. They just didn't close it. And if they play the Lakers, I think they match up well against the Lakers. They play well against the Lakers, and that was the team they were supposed to play. They never got to play them. I got the Clippers. Obviously, nobody's going to believe it because Paul George, and I'm relying on Paul George to play well. But maybe I don't want him to play well because maybe if he doesn't and the Clippers choke, that means that Kawhi Leonard could be testing the waters in free agency. And guess who has that money, Kawhi? The New York Knicks.
They sure do.
And guess who likes to take time off? Kawhi. And guess who likes to not show up to a lot of practices? Kawhi. And who's not going to let that fly? Tom Thibodeau. So
that's true.
I don't know if that's going to be the right fit for us.
But maybe
he's a great player, but I don't know.
Keys, he might come and just do it for a year. Keys? You know, he might be like,
"Hey, I don't want you to get too excited."
Yeah, come on, Keys. You see me having some fun. We celebrating the Knicks season. They just shift the culture. Now every superstar is gonna want to come play here, right? But now we're gonna pick. We're gonna pick who wants to, who we're gonna want to sign. No more is it about everybody using us as leverage. Now we decide who we want to come here.
That's
things things are changing.
Unless you're Randle, because you said he got the leverage.
If the Knicks get past Atlanta and the Sixers, and they meet the Nets in the Eastern Conference Finals, and they upset them, it will be the story of. It might end up being the biggest story in NBA playoff history. That
we're gonna party in the streets.
Oh,
it'll be hot too. What, May? Eastern Conference Finals gonna be what?
In
mid-June?
Probably. Yeah.
It's gonna be hot outside. Everybody's gonna be turned up.
Ooh, that would be beautiful. That
Fantastic.
would be beautiful. Yeah. God,
I want to go to a parade, man.
Yeah.
You imagine? Imagine?
I've never been to a championship
there, man.
parade.
I'll go to New York.
Never went to the Giants ones.
Wait. Hold on. If I heard that for this series, it's gonna be more fans.
Yes, 5,000. And guess what? The tickets are gonna also have a higher price.
And Keys, you and I went to the Phoenix game.
Yep.
You know, shout out to CP, shout out to Knicks Fan TV. Right? We collaborated with those guys, and that game was crazy. And that was what, 2,000 fans, was it, Keys?
Well, let me correct that. You collaborated with CP. I just bumped into them accidentally.
You funny, man. CP's my guy, man. Yeah.
We'll all go for dinner. We'll all go for dinner at Clyde's Wine and Dine.
They got it.
Yo, you imagine? I went there for what game did I go? The first game where they allowed fans back in. I actually went to Clyde's restaurant. It was fire.
Yeah, I have never been.
I'm telling you right now, in the chat, don't front. If the Knicks win in 6, I say 7. These guys are saying in 6. If the Knicks win in 6, first of all, that's impressive, because that means we would have closed the game out, which we know that the hardest game, people say, NBA players and professionals say, the hardest game in the playoffs is the closeout game, let alone closing the game out on the road, right? Versus a desperate team. Mm-hmm. We win this series in 6. I know all of y'all going to think we're going to the finals.
Yeah.
At least the Eastern Conference.
That's why I got to drop that video this week.
You got to drop the video, George.
Yeah, maybe. Yeah, we can't get it too ahead of ourselves. Someone in the chat said that. That's true. Who's our boy? Yeah, Brennan.
I'm just saying,
let's not get ahead of ourselves. Oh, there it is.
I'm not talking realistically. Yeah. I'm talking emotionally. If we win in 6 and we win that 6th game in Atlanta, we as a Knicks community, we're gonna think, you know what? Maybe that could happen.
Mm-hmm. I think, and
then of course the Nets will play us in the Eastern Conference Finals and say, yeah, stop it.
Yeah. Oh Lord. Wow.
Shout out to Stephen Fox, the GOAT.
How awesome is it, though? How awesome is it that we even have this?
Yeah, let me tell you something real quick. Shout out to Stephen Fox. Foxy, you know I love you. Foxy is a big, major behind this. You know, you guys see us here, and sometimes you guys don't know all the behind the scenes stuff. People that have influenced us, people that have pushed us to get, to just be able to just talk sports, and for me, Foxy's one of those guys, Quis is one of those guys, George is one of those guys, but Stephen Fox, especially behind the scenes, is a very big influence on me being able to, be, honored to talk to Quis and be up here and talk sports with you guys. Foxy pushed me a lot behind the scenes, so always going to be, appreciative of that. And Foxy, I love you, man. Let's hope we have a great series.
Shout out to Foxy. Let's see if I can get a round of applause in for him. Can you guys hear that?
Yeah, there you go.
Hey!
What a stream, guys. I had a blast.
Yeah, I had a blast. 2 hours and 30 minutes in.
Yeah, crazy. I think we need to start wrapping it up because
I think we should just stay on until next week when the Knicks play
the
game
whole
1.
week. How about we do a marathon? We should do a marathon stream before game 1 and then go right into the watch along.
Yo, Verizon's gonna send me a hell of a bill.
Yeah, that's true.
Before we go, though, let me shout out Jesse Rodriguez. He's saying, what point guards do you guys think we can get with a late first round pick in draft? I like Sharif Cooper from Auburn. God, I hope he's still hanging around. I've been hearing Cooper, Trey Mann. Who else have they?
Trey Mann is
suggested?
Good. Trey Mann's, I like him. In the late
Davion Mitchell is another guard.
I think. I mean, if it depends who. I mean, now you see a lot of guys shooting guard, point guard. As the draft comes, you're gonna get you're gonna finally see guys get rid. You're gonna see their real positions pop up. Foxy, I would invite you to put your comment in. We'll highlight it because you're the draft guru. So I'm not gonna act like I know about these guys. Foxy's a guy that I respect. He studies the draft extensively. This guy has a binder this big. So I've heard Jaden Springer, Josh Christopher, James Bouknight.
Bouknight's more of a shooting guard. But I think the guy I like is Jared Butler from Baylor. Right now, he's mocked to go 17th. If he drops a little lower, he could be good. But Springer is another point guard that I really like. But the dude that I'm pumped about, he's not a point guard, is Chris Duarte of Oregon. He's a senior. The guy, he's like a Desmond. He's this year's Desmond Bain. He can shoot and shoot and shoot, and he's like a real good character guy. He would be a really good pick for us. But Springer, I like Springer too. What's the other guy from Illinois?
Saying Jared Butler.
Butler's the guy I really like. I really like Butler for this team.
Didn't you mention something about a situation where he's like backing up or something? Remember, George? I think you mentioned that yesterday, right?
That Butler? Yeah, Butler.
Like his current situation where he's actually like a backup, but he has like this undeniable talent and he can be a sleeper.
Jared Butler, you mean?
Yeah.
No, that wasn't. I think we're confusing it with someone else. But there is a situation with Butler. He's mocked to go. I mean, I think he's kind of low, in my opinion.
You know, it's funny right now. I'm looking at
they won it all.
I'm looking at NBADraft.net, and he this draft. This is the latest mock, NBADraft.net. It is May 12th. The Knicks have the 21st and 23rd pick. They have Trey Mann, the point guard for Florida, mocked to the Knicks. And the pick after to the Houston Rockets, they have Jared Butler mocked. So right around that area.
The guy from Illinois is Ayo Dosunmu. I like him. You know, in the lower part of the draft. But a guy who I really would like to get, maybe in the second round or late first, is the guy from Gonzaga, the French dude, Joel Ayayi. I think he's got skills that weren't fully exploited at Gonzaga because they had such a deep squad, such a well-balanced squad. That dude can shoot. He's got a handle. He's a good defender. He's fast. He's someone who's interesting. Oh man, we've talked about every single thing you can talk about.
I think solid 2.5
It's been awesome.
hours.
It's been great. Thank you guys for
I think we're ready for the playoffs.
doing this, man. Yeah, we're ready to wrap this thing up.
All right.
Ayayi's a Thibs type of player. Exactly, Steven.
All right.
Yeah.
So, chat, thank you for putting up with us. I appreciate you guys holding us down for 2.5 hours and, driving the show. Like I say, whenever I'm on here, this chat drives the show. I help host it. I have guests like JD and George on, but at the end of the day, it's the chat that really makes this live stream lit. So once again, thank you guys.
Absolutely.
Also,
thank you, chat.
Also want to say thank you to JD from JDSportsTalk for pulling up and chopping it up with me. You guys seen him on the channel before, but he's got his own channel, and the link to that is going to be down in the description. Same thing with George. Thank you for pulling up and helping to support my channel by partaking in this discussion. Your link to the channel will be in the description also. So chat, once again, thank you. I'm Quis, host of Sports Vibes TV, and we're out.
Peace.
You guys did it at the same time. That was cute.